And we are live, everyone. Ultra Podcast Z, episode 49, the first of two final episodes of season 1 of Ultra Podcast Z. Are you excited, Konaru? Are you excited?
I'm sleepy.
You're sleepy. We'll get back to that in a second, actually, because there's things we have to say. But before we do that, let's introduce ourselves. I kind of already gave all of our names away. Well, all of our, like there's several of us. But I'm Manuel, leader of AJ Connections. I'm always here, always there, always on Ultra Podcast Z. And joining us tonight, back from a 2-week absence, is Konaru.
Hi guys, my name is Okada, also known as Monkey Kitty. Daniel has me here against my will, and last night I fell asleep because I'm still on Japan time, mentally, so that's why we weren't on yesterday.
Yeah, fun fact, I was ready to go. I actually had everything set up like really early, and I was just sitting here because I was really excited to talk about what we're going to talk about later on. And I was really excited, and then Konaru never showed up, and that was just that was just a lot of fun.
Fortunate.
Anyhow, chat is open, Twitch is open, YouTube is open. Leave comments. As always, shout out. You know, this podcast has no sponsor, but it's currently sponsored by our people on Patreon. If you're interested in joining our Patreon and helping us out and becoming a patron, you can find details at patreon.com/AdaJConnections. So what are we talking about tonight? Well, we're going to talk a bit about some recent news. We got our intros out of the way. We're going to cover Konaru's trip a bit, because as she said, she just came back from Japan. We're going to split that into two. We're going to talk about the trip in general. We're going to talk about MNL48, expectations versus reality.
Are they even okay?
I know, exactly. But our big topic of the night is an idol culture and industry video. I should have wrote the exact title of it, but it's a video by a YouTuber by the name of RPG Monger. Sorry, I could have pronounced that a little funny. And we're going to discuss that video and go over some of the points that he made in said video. And by doing that, we're going to go over our takes on idol culture and the idol industry. And then we're going to talk more about Konaru's trip. More than likely, we'll talk about the Aqua live she went to at Tokyo Dome, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And then we're going to go over season 1 of Podcast Z, Ultra Podcast Z, and we're going to talk about our upcoming changes that will be happening very, 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 very soon. That's a lot, actually, not going to lie. It really is.
No. For once we have a structured podcast.
No, exactly. Like, usually we just bullshit. We like, let's talk conspiracy theories, and then we just bullshit for 2 hours. But, so you were in Japan.
Yes.
I'm a little jealous, not gonna lie. You're in Japan, I'm a little jealous. I'm like, I wish I could have gone. It sucks to be Manuel.
Sucks to be, you know?
Yeah, it's funny because I was listening to the Avenue Q mostly yesterday. So whenever I hear "Sucks to be you, sucks to be me," I think of the song "It Sucks to Be Me." It's a song from there. Y'all should watch that musical. If you're in the LA area, it's playing, and I'm not sponsored to say this. I'm just saying it. It's still playing in North Hollywood if you want to check that out. But anyway, tell us about Japan, Konaru.
Okay, so I got there at around like 3 o'clock-ish, which is pretty abnormal for me because my first trip I arrived really late at night. So yeah, we got there around 3 in the afternoon, and it was pretty cool. I thought so, because like I've never arrived in Tokyo in the daytime, so I got to like fly in and see all the cool things. But besides that, we took a bus because we didn't want to be in the train during rush hour with all of our bags, because that's crappy. So we got to our hotel around 5-ish. We stayed in not Kabukicho. Forgot what station. Like 3 stations down from Aki-P, but we stayed somewhere. It was really sketchy, but the hotel was super nice and trendy and very millennial-ish. Of course, it was to my tasting, so I loved it.
Oh my god. You should have stayed at Kabukicho, is what you should have done. That was your first mistake. That's right, you know.
No, this area was just as sketchy as
that's
Kabukicho.
awesome. That's awesome. We gotta touch base on that later on and let me know what this area is. I love Sketch. Sketch is my place.
Well, I can tell you about it now because we had our first experience with the sketchiness when we got there.
Was it the Nigerians trying to bring you to the...
No, it was not Nigerians. It was like, okay, so here's the lowdown. So we get to our room and everything, and like we rest and everything, and eventually I got to Aki-P. I'll talk about that later. But let me talk about Aki-P first because that happened first, and then it's gonna like tie into like the shit that went down at our hotel. So okay, So here I go, Akiba. We go to Akiba because my friend that lives in Saitama came all the way down. She's like, let's go to May Cafe. So I was like, yeah, let's go to At Home because they're having the Cinnamon Roll Cafe collab. I was sad because Heidi wasn't there, but it's okay. I took a snap with, I keep forgetting her name. Oh my god.
Pedoline.
Pedoline, yeah. But I took a snap with Pedoline. She's one of the premium names, and I'm pretty sure you said he's
yeah.
Like
for those that watch us like religiously, you might remember that that's the one that Heidi has mentioned several times. I know for a fact she mentioned her when we did the podcast with Paper Maiden from Homicidals, because that was a cute little podcast, because I think Paper Maiden knew of Heidi before, like she followed her or whatever, like idly type things. Because there was a segment in the podcast where I swear Paper Maiden was interviewing Heidi, and somehow Perodine got brought up, and it was just like, oh, I'm like, oh, look how cute, like Heidi has a BFF at home. But anyways, go on.
But yeah, no, I took a snap of Perodine. I ate some really bomb coffee because I actually don't drink coffee, but I was like I was dying in that cafe. Like, I'm surprised I look so good in my checky, but like outside of that checky, I look so bad. I was like falling asleep at my table, and like I think Perodine was concerned at one point. She kept bringing me water to like make sure I stay awake and everything. I told her like I just came from I literally got off my flight like not too long ago, and like she was really surprised that I decided to come like that super close because I'm like super tired and everything. I didn't sleep on my flight at all. I don't like sleeping.
Oh my god.
At all. I'm too excited. But yeah, so yeah, after that we played a few arcade games, like Love Live, and then I actually played Pootie. I played the new Pootie Channel game. Super bomb, love it. They had Love Machine on there, so I played that nonstop. Like every play was Love Machine. Okay, so then we get back to our hotel, and that's when things actually start getting sketchy. So, so the area it's in, I'm pretty sure it's like a border of like the sketchiness. So, because like at one point it's like super normal, like on one street, but then once you get on the street next to like the street that our hotel is on, it's like mad sketch. So we start walking from the station to our hotel, and then and then we passed by a lot of like the soap houses and everything like that, like the girls' bars and everything.
Yeah.
And we were surrounded. I'm not kidding when I say this. We were surrounded by them. Like, okay, so like here's my hotel. Right here was like one of those mini stops.
Yeah.
And then right here was like a 7-Eleven. The rest of the buildings around that was the soap houses and girls' bars and all that. So we get to our room. It wasn't sketchy like walking back actually, but right as we get up to our room, we start hearing yelling like from outside the street. And my hotel room is like facing the 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
So right by the 7-Eleven, there's like a big it's a big cross section full of like girls' bars and the soap houses. So yeah, we get up to our room and we just start hearing yelling, and we look out and it's like this really drunk businessman. Like he had a fancy suit and everything. He was just stumbling around drunk with like, I'm pretty sure his coworkers were like, or I'm not sure if they were coworkers or like people from the bar, like trying to bring him in because like, you know, he's drunk and he doesn't know what he's doing, so they see money. But yeah, he was just stumbling around in the middle of the street. Cars were honking at him and like going around him, and it was hilarious to watch. And then he walks away, but then not even like 10 minutes later, he comes back to like where in that same area where he popped up in, and he started yelling again, and then he walked away again. And like an hour later, there's like this fight that happens like right outside of one of the houses because I'm pretty sure someone didn't pay or like they weren't allowed in there. There was like a legit fist fight. Cops showed up. And then after that, I fell asleep. After that because I was like, I'm not dealing with this bullshit. I'm going to sleep. But my boyfriend stays up and he watches and he sees more stuff go down. And then the next morning he tells me, yeah, there was like another fight that happened. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
I'm not gonna lie, like I've stayed in some sketchy places. I've never seen a fight, and I'm kind of jealous. I'm kind of jealous. Not gonna lie.
It was like, I don't even consider it a fight, but some people might. It was just like pushing around, you know.
I've never seen that. I've seen people drunk off their asses. Usually they pass out, and I've almost been like pickpocketed a few times, and like other sketchy, crimey type things like that, but never a fight. That's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, we both of us eventually fell asleep, and then we woke up, and then the next morning, there was a whole bunch of cops, and we were like, oh, did one of the houses get like, you know, raided or something, and now the cops are just in the area for the time being. And it was only on that one street. Like, it was the only one that was like the only street that had cops. So, like, everywhere else that we walked around, like the next street over, it was empty. The street behind it was empty. And then, like, just everywhere else it was empty, but that specific area was filled with cops, and I didn't understand anything, and I felt like it was just some Yakuza conspiracy shit, like, going on, you know? Like, it was confusing. I tried to ignore it. I ignored it, like, 99% of the time, but it was just a strange first night. Like, Yakuza activity with soap houses and drunk men everywhere, and the next morning there's just cops everywhere, like, on this one specific part of the street, but nowhere else, and I'm just really confused.
Well,
you know?
That's... that sounds ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie. Once again, not to keep beating a dead horse there, but if that was me, I would consider that a trip very, very, very well done. I'm like, that's a good trip. I'm glad with that. I don't know.
That was just the first day, and then there was the time we played video games. Honestly, yeah, we shopped around Akiba. Went to go eat at our favorite places. We went to a Wendy's First Kitchen grand opening. That was bomb.
Oh my god.
I got free potato, free chicken nuggies, you know. Yeah, and the rest of the time we play video games, but I'll talk about like my trip to Harajuku and Aqua Live later on.
We'll come back to that.
Our next thing.
Next thing is gonna be MNL48. Now it's funny. I actually have a lot to talk about here, actually. I actually thought we wouldn't. Because, like, okay, for those of you who are watching, and those of you who watched it for a long time, we used to actually have a weekly segment, called WTF MNL48. Like, what the fuck, MNL48? Where I'm not gonna lie, we just basically ragged on them about, like, what the fuck's going on. Yeah, like, there was just so much to talk about. I don't remember the specifics off the top of my head because like it's things that I've forgotten. One of the members not knowing who idols were, like some bad
mistaking everything for K-pop.
Yes, it was a lot of things that had gone on, and I'm not gonna lie, that segment got kind of old fast because it was repetitious, but it wasn't repetitious because like we were saying the same things, they were doing the same things. It's like, how many times can we talk about, oh, they don't know what idols are? Oh my god, there's a scandal. Oh my god, you know, they still haven't debuted. It's been a year, so on. So we did drop that, but it's back because well, they obviously debuted. They had Aitakata I believe it was still called Aitakata, but they did.
Yeah, it's called Gusto ma something.
Yeah.
I hate to insert in Spanish, but you know that's just Tagalog.
Yeah, but and now they're doing Koisudo Fortune Cookie. That's the new one, which also has the Tagalog name, which I don't. Yeah.
Para Inga or something like that.
Yeah. So they're doing that. That's coming out. I don't think it's out yet. But oh my god,
they released a really questionable.
So we'll start. Yeah, we'll start with the video because there's a lot more I want to talk about in general. I feel like I've been like neglecting some of the like my issues with MNL48, but we'll start with the video because a lot of it's wrapped up in there. So the video drops. And I think it's safe to say that the quality, I mean, not even, we'll get to that, but I mean the actual physical quality, the video quality of the video, of the MV, is questionable. It's like, it's grainy, the color correction is all off. Like everything's like through a filter.
Like, let's say you shot a video on Instagram, and you use like an Instagram filter. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, but like the whole I mean, like they were different, but it was like the whole fucking video was like that. It was like, what the hell? And like I said, it looked like, I'm not exaggerating. When I was talking to Konaru, this isn't even a joke. I put it in the chat too. I was watching the video, and I have crappy internet, so I assumed that YouTube had moved me to like the 480 or the SD type quality things, and I was like, oh, it happens. Not the first time that's happened. I don't really care. But then I noticed that no, I was actually watching it in 1080. It just looked bad. It looks bad. It honestly looks like, because I've done this too. Like we shoot all of our stuff in 720, but I briefly toyed with the idea of outputting to 4K. Believe it or not, not even jump into to 1080 or to 2K or whatnot. It's just jumping straight to 4K. And so when you do that, and if you watch it on something 4K, you can tell that you just took a lower quality thing and blew it up. I mean, there's some renderers that can fix that kind of bullshit, whatever. But it looks like they shot an SD and then blew it up. I'm not... Either that or whatever fucking effects they did just fucked with the raw image so much that it just looks like shit. It looks like shit. And it's sad because this is a major group.
Honestly, without the filters, I think it would have looked pretty good.
I think so too. It definitely would have helped. But there's so many bad choices there. Like, there's that part, like a lot of the close-up shots, or not the close-ups, but like the 2-3 shots, where it's 2-3 girls against a backdrop, and the backdrop's like this foil thing. Imagine it's like this,
it's legit foil,
but like foil.
Like the stuff that you get, there's the stuff that you get at like Party City.
Yes, it looks so bad. And there was different color foil, but I'm pretty sure if you zoomed out, it was just one room where they just put like foil on the wall, and they just like did the shots in front of it. It looked bad. It looked super low budget. Honestly, the plain wall probably would have looked better. A plain wall, a nice wall. Put a picture up or two. Hey, what's up, Aunt? Nice seeing you. We're on a Wednesday, in case you can't tell, because Konaru overslept.
Because I'm an idiot.
Yes. So yeah. So like I was saying, so yeah, it looks bad. It looks bad in general. Also, I will say this though, musically it sounds good. The girls look good. I don't want to rag on them or anything like that. I also didn't want to show the video. This is a thing I'm going to talk about later, but I do want to make these podcasts more. I mean, less, not more. I want to make them less video-centric so you could actually enjoy them without having to watch us watch things. So I didn't want to show the video. Also, I didn't want to get flagged by them just in case. But...
Yeah, I don't know how their agency works. Their agency is so weird.
It is. So there's other things to talk about. I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, Konaru, but I feel like the overseas groups, like especially JKT and especially MNL48, have far more vocal and rabid fan bases.
Yes, I do admit that. Even BNK48, and even the new group, the one that's going to be in, what was it, SGO48?
From Vietnam? Yeah.
Yeah, no, even now, they have, like, a really big fan base, and, like, they just debuted.
No, it's crazy because...
Like, they're having their first fan meet this weekend, and I think it's already, like, sold out.
Because, like, JKT48, I remember there was a point when we were in the... Because we run a Facebook group, which is admittedly a little dead these days, but we run a Facebook idol fan group, and twice, not just once, but 2 different times, like, people from, like, some JKT48 fans would spam the hell out of it. And I don't think they were just trying to annoy us. I think they, in their own awkward, socially awkward way, were just trying to share 8 billion pictures of JKT48 without even without noticing the spamming. One time I was asleep through it and Tiffany dealt with it, and the other time I dealt with it myself. I was like, what the hell? And there's actually, fun fact, our group is called California Idol Fans United, Kaifu. If you look up Kaifu, there's a rival Kaifu, quote unquote, which is JKT48 or JKT California Idol Fans United. And I'm like, what the hell? It's like, it's not, I mean, it's not that original, like our name. It's like, stop, like, it's just, they're everywhere. They're
I
like,
didn't even guess there were JKT fans in California.
I don't, yeah, I don't think there are. I really don't think. There's a ton of MNL48
hey,
fans.
I'm a fan.
There's
I'm a
ton,
fan.
but you're not in California. But there's a ton of MNL48 fans. It's weird because I've talked about this like phenomenon before on different groups. I talk about this with Biss all the time, or with any of the all-title groups. When people get, and it's funny because one of our people, Kaz, there's a new K-pop group coming out from the people who the management company behind BTS. And people are losing their shit. And I'm like, no one's been decided. Nothing's been talked about. It's just there. But like MNL48, it's so interesting. It's like there's an audition. Literally, it could be anyone joining. You don't know who's there. There's nothing there yet except for business people and money. But yet fans were already flocking to the logo, basically. It was just, or the idea. And it just throws me for a loop sometimes. I guess I'm just not a fan. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't mean just like a fan of this.
I don't like.
I just don't.
I
don't understand that fan culture. Go ahead.
Yeah, like I've never been a fan of like going crazy, like legit crazy over stuff like that. Like I'll be like, oh, okay, that's a cool concept. I'll keep an eye on it, but not like making it legit part of my identity at the first go, because like I need to be impressed first.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand the like, oh my god, this is cool, I'm gonna watch the show and see, because they formed their group on a show. I'm gonna watch the show, see how this goes, find a favorite, cheer her on, wait for them to debut, hear that song, then go crazy if everything fell into place before. But so many people just jump straight to step 4, you know, or whatever. They're already in the obsessed phase. I just find that so interesting. Honestly, I'm not saying it's bad per se. I find it interesting.
I just never liked that stan culture. It's very toxic in my opinion.
It is, I'll admit, but I don't.
It makes people go blind a lot.
You know what's funny? I have this in my notes too, and I meant to segue to it a little earlier. Have you noticed how many fucking MNL48 picture groups there are, or picture fan pages? I've never seen that culture before, ever. I guess
I've seen that culture with JKT, so it's not
oh,
surprising
really?
to me.
So yeah, I mean, there's like, I'm not exaggerating, by the way. There's at least like 6 to 10. I think there's more. That's just what I've seen from like. This is not even me searching. This is just my friends on Facebook sharing these posts. But what I haven't seen is these insane watermarked photos. At first, I thought people were just taking official photos and watermarking them, which is really fucked up and a really horrible practice. But then I was told that most of these are like, there's actually a word for it. I was told what the word was, and I already forgot. Like, you know, the Wota photographers. They exist in Japan too, for the record.
Me.
Yeah, the ones who are their fans, but they also like bring their cameras. Now, mind you, I said a million times, most shows don't allow pictures. Some do, and it's obvious there are like press opportunities, you know, and all that kind of nonsense. And then, just like the U.S., most like a lot of concerts, people just ignore it anyway. Like, I'm not gonna lie, most of that's foreigners. Not calling you out, Konaru, but
I do it with respect.
Exactly. But anyway, so yeah, apparently MNL48 has these kind of Wota photographers in spades. And it's ridiculous because have you seen the watermarks though? Once again, I don't want to. I don't want to.
I barely follow. I honestly barely follow any like Wota photographers because I have to really like their work. Like, there's just one photographer I follow for BNK48, and he takes pictures of music, like just music. And
oh yeah.
I love them so much. Like, he does really good work, and like you have to really, like, a Wota photographer has to really impress me. And he's like the one out of very, very, very few that have. So I haven't seen them, but I would like to see the receipts.
No, because I didn't want to show the pictures because I mean I'm not that kind of person who wants to like.
Send them to me later.
Yeah, I don't want to laugh in their face and be like, "Ha, fuck you," because they're like credit us, no, all rights reserved, all that bullshit, which anyone can say on the internet. But I'm just like, I don't want to deal with that. So I'm not going to show the pictures. I'll have a link to a random ass page in the bottom if you're on YouTube. But or you can, if you're watching us live right now, just go to Facebook, open up another tab, and look it up real fast, like MNL48.
Actually, I'm still looking it up right
now. Yeah. But some of these watermarks are insane. It's like they take up like a third of the picture, and I'm like, oh my god! Like, it's like you post like 1,000 pictures, and there's like 6 other groups posting thousands of pictures. Is your picture of I don't know any of the girls' names top of my head. Is your picture of so and so that important that you need to take up a huge chunk of it?
The only one I know is Ron, because like one of my friends that follows them is like a really big fan of her, so that's the only one that I know.
I don't know, like but I really feel that there's a lot of oh god, I forgot about that thing. I'll talk about that before. I was going to start wrapping it up. I'm going to talk about this. They did a handshake event recently, and once again, the pictures that came out were from one of the photographers. I didn't want to show them, at least the ones I saw. Oh god, there's a picture. I'll have a link to it below. I know where this picture is. I actually saved it, like on my Facebook. There is a picture that I don't like to judge fans. I really don't. I don't like to judge Wota because at the end of the day, they are our fans too,
just like we
and
are, we
exactly. They are fans too.
Them.
We're fans too. So I don't want to judge anyone per se. But there was one picture that kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? They kind of just rubbed me the wrong way. Yeah, because it was a picture. Now, mind you, most of the pictures were like your normal idol fare. And I guess even the one I'm going to mention is still kind of a normal idol fare. But it was, your Wota. There was a lot of female fans, which amazed me, I guess, because, it's not in Japan. There was a lot of female fans. There was a lot of Wota. A lot of, like, casuals, whatever. But there was one picture. And the girl was probably one of the youngest looking girls in the group. And that's important. That's important what I'm about to say next. And it's also funny because I actually mentioned how, I don't know what the average age is for MNL48. I'm not saying they look old, but they look like they're an older group. You know what I mean? Like, as in, like, their average age.
Yeah, no, like, they give off an older vibe.
Yeah, like it seems visually. It seems like their age is more in the 18-20 range as opposed to like the 16 to 18 range kind of thing. I don't know, it's hard to explain. But anyway, so it is one of the visually looking younger members, and it's the oldest guy I've ever seen.
I think I'm looking at the photo right now.
And he's holding your hands with both hands, and I'm just like, that picture, just like, dude, you probably have at the very least, you're at the age where potentially she's young enough to be your great granddaughter, probably, or at the very least your granddaughter. And I'm just like, that just struck me as odd. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's.
No, I feel you. No, you always get like that weird vibe whenever you see photos like that. Like yeah.
And it's one thing if you're like, oh my god, I'm a big fan, and you shook her hand. But if you look at the picture, he's leaning in. He has her hand in both of his, and there's the very, 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 very clear distinction in their ages because she looks like. Averagely speaking, with MNL48, she looks like she's on the younger end of the spectrum, and he definitely is on the older end of the fan spectrum. So that threw me off. But I don't know. You know those memes, and that's actually why I titled this "Expectations versus Reality." You know those memes where it's always like, what you expect and what you get.
Yeah.
We should make one of those for MNL48. Like, what you expect.
I expected being
K48, exactly.
I got MNL.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. To be fair, they're produced locally. Like most of the other groups, most of the other sister groups are. They're produced by a local management company. They're partnered with AKS, of course, but they're not directly controlled by them. So a lot of these decisions, a lot of, the budgeting is done on a local scene. So perhaps the scene in the Philippines can't really support anything bigger. I don't know. But
I want to think that someone in there, because like I've heard a little sketchy things about their agency before. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. So
I believe someone in higher management is just taking all the money and running, and they're just leaving the barest of bones of minimums. I can't stress that how minimum they're probably leaving them in the end. Like, it's really sad if that's the case. Because, like, I'm pretty sure that happened with TPE48, and that's why they kind of went bankrupt.
Oh yeah.
And then they got to like a new agency.
Yeah, now they're Team TP. So yeah, like
yeah, now they're Team TP.
Which actually I believe debuted. Like they debuted a while. We actually did mention it when they debuted. They debuted a while ago. Or actually no, it was a TPE. I don't even know anymore. But they are. I mean, I don't know if we mentioned it, but they did debut. Is what I'm getting at. We just never, whether we mentioned it or not before, I don't know. But it's not recent. Anyhow. Let's move on from that. Actually, I wonder every time we talk about MNL48, there's always a few MNL, and not like in a bad way. There's always a few MNL48 fans who pop out of the woodwork to correct or to school us on things. And I say that specifically because they don't seem like doing it in a mean way or in a bad way, like some of the alt title fans do. So I look forward to your comments, MNL48 fans.
Yes.
And keep in mind, except for maybe the last thing I said about the older fan, I am not speaking ill of any of you. So just want that out there. And even that guy, I'm not speaking ill of him. I just
want to know if they're okay.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes. Is MNL48 okay? Because they look like they're the starving idol group who has no budget.
And then, like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna bring this last thing up. It's just like I saw pictures of their handshake events too.
Oh, it's
and like the building it was in, I was like, that's sturdy.
No, it's funny because I focused on that guy, but yeah, the thing was bad. Remember the info desk was just like a handwritten sign.
It was a handwritten sign. I'm pretty sure they got from like the local 99-cent store and just did it right before it opened.
Oh my god, there's so much to unpack there too. I forgot about that. Once again, like I said, I think all the pictures I saw were from one of those photographers, and I didn't want to pull it. And because I'm mentioning this, and it'll probably be in the tag, I didn't want to potentially offend them, and then get like a takedown notice or something, you know. So it's like I'm not even.
If you do know good photographers, though, hit me up because I want to see. I like looking at people's work.
And also, if any MNL48 fans are watching later on, let me know what the policies are taking pictures of concerts is there. I assume it's non-existent, like you just do whatever the hell you want. Because there are so many.
If that's the case, I'm heading over there.
I know.
See you soon.
But anyways, let me know on that if you have anything. So the next topic, I'll leave Heidi pointing nothing for a second, is... Well, I'm gonna preface this a bit because I want to say a few things. Now, it's funny because I don't know. Actually, I'll start with my part. So there's a certain YouTuber that I follow, and I followed him. I actually thought he did a thing on the Undertale fandom, but I couldn't find that video. That might have been someone else. But he does videos on fandoms. And it's usually anime related, though.
I thought he was like a video game.
No, okay, yeah.
Person.
His name is RPG Monger, and his icon on the videos. I don't know if he's ever showed himself, but the icon on the videos is a Moogle from Final Fantasy, the Final Fantasy series, and I actually thought so too. And I was like, oh, maybe I missed his. Like, I didn't look him up more deeply until very recently, but I've watched him for about a year or so, and then more recently he did like some K-pop fandom videos. I'm like, oh, these are interesting. Now I mention this because this always bothers me when things like this happen, because I like to watch videos, read articles, read books, etc. on these kind of topics, and I assume that the people know what they've done their research, they know what they're talking about. And he's not the first. I don't want to call him out like he's the only one who's ever done this, but there are times when I'll read something and I'm like, that's wrong. A very good example is a book I am looking at right here. Let me see if I can pull it out without knocking everything over. God damn it. Oh, I already knocked things over. Okay.
Knock everything over.
Is this book. It's called Japanese Schoolgirl Confidential. It's written by Brian Ashcroft of Kotaku fame. So this book is not about idols, but it does mention idols. And it's full of errors. At one point, he even calls Berry's Kobo a subgroup of Morty Musume, which is far worse than which is far worse than anything. Which is far worse than anything RPG Monger said, for the record. But my point to bringing that up is automatically, right away, in my opinion, that almost invalidates everything else they do, in my eyes at least. I'm not saying everyone else is to be this strong, because I'm like, if you're not researching that, and I know you're not, then what else did you not research that I've been like following and reading about for like the past year? In the case of the RPG Monger, this guy, I don't know. I don't like Brian Ashcroft. He's bad. don't everyone go tweet at Brian Ashcroft. Hashtag Krusty Krab no fair. Oh god, we didn't talk about that. About
oh no! Wait, let's save it for later.
We'll save it for later. Krusty Krab unfair, I meant to say, by the way. But no, don't do that. Don't do that. Not that we have the fandom to take him down like that, but don't do it anyway.
Well,
but
I do.
Anyway, so he did a video, and it's funny because the way the YouTube algorithm works is I don't really watch him. I haven't watched him that much recently, so I haven't got an update for a while. Like, I know this video came after a dry spell, but I don't think I've seen a video from him in about 3 months. But I think he's uploaded one about a month ago. I just didn't catch it. I didn't see it. And I watch YouTube every day, and I always check my subs. But YouTube must have wanted me to see this and showed it. And I was like, it was pretty new, and I watched it. And I was just like, oh my god. So the video... goes in depth about idol culture and the idol industry. And it runs around the style of his videos. Now, let me pick apart this thumbnail, because Konaru had a very good point about the thumbnail. I didn't even think about that. Now, notice what's biggest in the thumbnail. There's 3 main things. That's the background. There's 3 main pictures there. And the biggest one is the stalker, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. The stalker from Perfect Blue. And I feel that's very important, what we're going to talk about at our conclusion to all of this. I think that's very important. And then, oddly enough, the second biggest one is Momo Yamaguchi, who I don't think he knows much about. I'll mention that in a minute. And then behind her is the poster child for every video you ever want to talk about idols, that's so sensational.
Okay, no. Back up. It's the poster child for every single Western video done about idol.
Yes. Because that's the one everyone wants to talk about. Now, we both have a crap ton of things to talk about, so let's just start moving into it. So, I don't want to show the video, besides because of what I already said, and I didn't want this to... I actually kind of want to do a reaction video separately. I don't know if I will, because this might serve as it. We'll see. But, is it a reaction video anymore? Because I've already seen it, so I don't know. But
I've already seen it. I don't want to give him views. Honestly, it's not worth my time. You know.
Now,
even with that blocker.
Yeah. Now, once again, I already kind of said my piece about like, oh, now I question everything I've ever learned from his channel. I want it to be said that I did watch him for, at the very least, this year. I remember seeing him for the first time, like sometime way back in like either December last year, or definitely around ALA time, January this year. So, anyways, I want to point that out there, and I don't necessarily bear any ill will towards him. I just think that this should be said. So, the video starts. Now, he opens up by saying, pop and then J-pop, and how J-pop is so different that they pretty much can't be compared to anything else. I agree. Now, before we go any further, Konaru, do you agree with this? That this is a pretty interesting point, because like a lot of things, sure, I guess it's pop, but I don't think all idol stuff can necessarily be straight up classified as J-pop.
No, it's like honestly, I think of it as its own genre.
Exactly.
Like
so I thought that was a weird thing. And for the record, if you ever go to a music store in Japan, this is backed up by the fact that these groups are in a section marked idoru, marked as idols.
Yeah, like so they have like an American section with all the American music, like American, and then under it is like American pop, American rock, American this, and then they have it for like Japanese rock, but they don't have like Japanese, they just have it like rock, and then they have it like with basic art and then or pop, and then they have like the Seiyu anime, the TS section, and then they have it idol.
Yeah, so even within Japan, it's a separate genre. So I found that so amusing that he makes his point to differentiate J-pop from everything else, but yet he doesn't differentiate.
Here's another thing about him, like, separating the two. Honestly, if you take the word J-pop out of his whole thing, like all idol stuff, and you insert it with like let's say K-pop culture or like American music culture, it just sounds like the same exact shit.
Yep. Now, also, before we jump any further, I wanted to mention this too. And this is very much a hot take, as you can tell. This is live. I'm not going to cut any of this out. Even if.
I hope you don't cut anything out. I'm
Yeah.
listening to
Yeah.
now.
Even if, because I do plan to do this, even when I cut this out as its own segment, like upload to the YouTube separately, I'm not going to edit it. It'll still be up there with all of its potential flaws. So keep that in mind, because I'm pretty sure that before we go any further, not that we have yet, but we're probably going to say some stuff that's like, oh wait, we might have been wrong ourselves, but this is a hot take. And I actually don't have any browsers open, and I can't check anything right now because I'm streaming, and I don't have two screens right now. So anyway, so he moves on from there, and then he brings up another thing. He puts idol history back in the 60s, which arguably you can go kind of far back, but he brings up idol history there and brings up Johnnies. Who the fuck brings up Johnnies when talking about idols? No, yes, they're idols, but they're male idols. Like, literally, the bulk of the idol culture stuff that he mentions later on does not apply to Johnnies. Like, or does not apply to male idols. Like, they're literally a different thing. They're so different. Like, because, mind you, his next point is that, oh, what makes an idol? He's like, age. Well, there you go. That defeats your whole starting with Johnny's argument right away, because Johnny's literally exists. I mean, Johnny's groups exist until they're not marketable or until they break up on their own. Because like Arashi's still around, and they're like in their 30s, I believe, like their early 30s, and SMAP was around until very recently, and they were still in their 40s. So no, you can't lump them together. Like, I just like, you can't start with, and it's even more poignant because he never mentions male idols again. So I'm like, then why did you start with them? Because that's not really where you start the idol story. I don't know.
It was irrelevant, honestly. It was just irrelevant information.
And it's funny because, like,
which is actually consistent throughout this whole video.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of irrelevant information.
Now, a lot of this might be nitpicking, but I want to point out that there's a billion little things and there's several big ones. I think the Johnny's one's pretty big because that sets everything up a little wrong. So anyway, oh my god. So then he talks about Momoe Yamaguchi, and he mentions her as the first popular idol, which is very questionable. I don't know if I'd put it like, I mean, her as the first, but he mentions about like her, he mentions like, about like her flawless image or something like that. I remember he used the word flawless. I forgot how he mentioned it, but I'm like, dude, Momoe Yamaguchi literally, I don't know if you know who she is, Konaru, by the way. She literally was known as like the idol with a dark past. Like, it's kind of like Akira Nakamura.
That was like her marketing thing.
Yes,
though, right?
it was.
Like,
that was the point.
Yeah, no, because we talk about her in the
panel,
the 80s panel, right?
Yeah. It's funny because like I'm like, dude, it's like that. Like, no, that she wasn't the flawless girl next door. No, she was always like the darker idol, the more mature idol.
For the edge.
Yes.
She was known for her image.
Yes, like Akira Nakamura, who came along later in the 80s, who we didn't mention, so it's not really worth bringing up here. But she was really popular in the 80s, like one of the big 80s idols. She kind of like, I don't want to say she modeled herself after that, because that really isn't the case. But a lot of her image is very reminiscent of Momoe Yamaguchi's image. So I just found that very interesting. It's like, dude, you're already wrong right there. Like, did you actually look her up, or did you go to Wikipedia? I'm sure I haven't gone to Wikipedia, so I don't know for a fact. But like, I'm pretty sure her Wikipedia entry is just like a paragraph that probably doesn't mention a lot of her stuff about her music and what the songs are about and her perception, like the perception of the fandom. Now, this is kind of jumping ahead, but this has to be said. He acts as if Wota. Oh, by the way, he never uses the word Wota. Let me actually point that out. He only uses the word otaku, which
yeah, we're otaku, we get it, but like that's still not the right word.
Yes, and it's not. That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's not nitpicking. Sorry. Oh yeah, it was all over the place. All right, that's kind of why we're all over the place. Sorry, I guess I'll think with that. But that I feel that's not nitpicking there, because you might be like, oh, so he said otaku. Well, and for the record, I do know, for the people who might point it out, yes, Wota, or some people pronounce it Oda, is a shortening of otaku, but it's the accepted term for like an idol fan. And I know for a fact, if you did any research, that would have come up. Like that's just you choosing not to use that word. I don't know why choosing not to use it.
Again, because he and every other Westerner who does a video like this has an agenda to just make it look like wacky crazy Japan. No.
So anyhow, bringing up what I said is he acts as if it doesn't even act. He basically says like, oh, Wota and the idol culture kind of started in the mid 90s, like to bring idol culture back to the mainstream. That's not true. Now, Konaru, you've been on our panels when I bring up the 80s clip. My favorite clip of all time to show is a Seiko Matsuda clip where she's doing not Kazewaki Iru. I forgot the Aoi Sangoshou. And if it exists on YouTube, I'll have a link to it below. I don't know if it still does. But that clip is from 1984, 83. I think it's 83. And it shows very, very like modern looking Wota in the audience. You know the video I'm talking about where they're doing and like they're doing the calls, they're doing the chants, they're wearing hoppy coats, they're wearing headbands. They look like they're like, you know, from a time machine, because that's the exact way they still look now. And they're all older men. I mean, it looks exactly like what you see in idol culture now. And this, and I'm like, dude, they've always been there. Now, I think part of the problem with this is, and I mentioned this a lot, I mentioned this a few times in certain panels, like the 80s ones, a lot of performances that survive now, like on YouTube, on video sharing sites, a lot of performances that survive are from like award shows, or from like television things. And a lot of those had like studio audiences that weren't really there to see her perform, or see, not her, but to see like a group perform. A lot of them were there to see the show that they were on or whatever. So chances are you won't see as many Wota, you know, in these kind of things. You do sometimes, but there are countless other videos. Konaru, I'm sure you've seen them. When I used to do a Throwback Thursday thing in the Kaifu group that we mentioned earlier. I used to do a Throwback Thursday thing, and I would always find performances that had chants. Because I'm like, look, there were Wota in the 80s. That's always like my favorite thing to point out.
Like even the basic bitch on Yanko Club Seifuku video that's on YouTube has a little bit of chanting in there.
It's just like, dude,
and like that is like the basic of bitch's 80s idol video. Let's be real.
Like it just oh, and he uses that clip. And part of it's like silent. It just like, it threw me off. I'm like, dude, like they've always been there. It's like they didn't just magically appear and now they're being marketed to. No, they were always marketed to. Now, this isn't in the notes. This kind of takes me to something else, but it's also very unfair to say, especially about AKB48, who he talks about a lot, or about all the big names he mentions, because he only mentions the big names. So it's really
of course he does.
So it's really unfair to say that like they're marketed solely to the Wota, because they're not.
Oh boy, am I a male? Boy, I better check my pants.
No, like especially the big groups, the AKB48s of the world, and you know the Morning Musumes of the world, the Hollow Projects of the world.
Okay, can I also be honest?
Yes.
Because like nowadays, when I like look up like live video and whatever, like especially dome concerts and like concert hall concerts and everything like that, I actually notice a really, really big amount of female fans.
Yeah.
Like. And even when they're doing like you know how they like sometimes they go around those little carts and everything, when they like shine the light on them, you can see sometimes the fans. I always see a girl in there. Don't tell me they're just marketed to men, because here I am. Yep. And here I was 10 years ago.
And another very good point to that, because Konaru, you mentioned yourself, is for if anyone follows us, like A to J Connections, I mean, if anyone follows us, you know that. I'm one of the very few guys in A to J Connections. It's like me, Tipu, Ikaru, and like Tom, and I think that's it. It is actually it. I think I named them all. And there's about like a dozen plus other girls who are like hardcore idol fans. And I think every host except for like Dave and Jimmy that we've ever had on who've talked idols with us have been female too. So there's a huge base here, and I know this is the US, not Japan. But still, and also beyond just female fans, you go to some concerts, there's kids there. I went to a Dempa.
No, sometimes there's even fucking legit kids concerts.
Yes.
Like the audience is made of kids.
Even more telling when these groups are being like put together. Do you think that they're just like finding well, yeah, they kind of are finding girls on the street. But I mean, do you think that these girls are being just manufactured themselves? No, they're there because
K-pop.
yeah, a lot of them were like, oh my god, I love AKB48. I want to join them. That's probably.
Oh my god, I love Morning Musume. I'm gonna audition. That was me.
That's legit. Everyone, I think, 'cause like Heidi has auditioned for like Hollow Project, and like I don't know AKB48, but she's auditioned for Hollow Project several times. And other people have as well. So this isn't even unusual. Like, I just find that so weird. Now, mind you, it's funny because he doesn't mention them at all. Now, mind you, these demographics change a lot when you start going more lower in the popularity scale. Like, there are certain Chica idols and whatnot. By the way, Chica, like underground idols. There are certain Chica idols who are very, who have fandoms who are probably almost predominantly male. Like, I tell that story, I went to go see White All, and like Eunice, who's with me, was the only other like female besides like one other female and her friend. And
that was me at Kamajoshi in Osaka.
So now, like, mind you, that does exist, but it does not exist like at all in the groups he mentioned. So I find that funny. Like, he doesn't talk about the smaller groups, but if you look there, that's where he would see more of what he says. Now, once again, that's not anything.
Also, from past experience, I'm going to talk about Aqua Live right now, just a little bit. But when I went to Aqua Live, I'm not kidding. I was like, I'm kind of exaggerated, I guess, but not really. There was a lot of female fans. Like, I was really surprised about how many female fans Aqua has, even though, like, I know they're in anime, whatever. All the girls love them because anime and everything. But yeah, no, there was like a lot of like girls cosplaying, girls just getting out of school, going straight to the fucking concert, and like kids, and it was crazy. Like, actually seeing it in person, how many female fans at least Aqua has in Japan, mind you. And there was a good amount of female foreigner fans that were there. I was one of them, of course, but it's just when you actually go to a concert and you actually see the people that attend, and you notice that it's like a lot of female fans that are attending, it changes like how you view like audiences. Because now that I see so many fans from like Aqua, I go back, look at AKB lives or like Keyakizaka lives. I see a lot of I notice the female fans now, at least. Like, even more than usual.
Yeah, like, I do too, to be honest. That's one of the things I always like to keep an eye out for, is like the demographics like that. Now, jumping back earlier to a different point, he talked about compensation. And he talked about how these idols weren't making any money. Now, that's not something I can really argue with. But he's also very, very skewed in what he's... First of all... Konaru's mentioned it a couple times, but she mentions like, oh, of course it is, he's Westerner, you know. Now,
yes.
That's very true, and I'll admit that I've been a fault to that too. There's a very Western centric way of thinking in a lot of these things. Now in Japan, there's very much the company culture, and once again, I'm not defending this. I'm not saying any of this is right, but like this is going to come up a bunch. Like, this is just the way things are done in Japan. There's very much the company culture. These idols aren't necessarily pop stars. They're employees of the company. AKB48 girls are employees of like AKS. Morning Musume people are employees of Upfront Works, etc. So they get paid like a salary. And of course, like other employees, they get bonuses. The real money lies in if they do sponsorship deals, if they do commercials, if they, whatever. But no, they're salary workers. Now, by that same token, these groups are manufactured. I don't want to say they don't deserve it, but what money would they be getting? It's like they don't write the music. Well, most of the time they don't. They usually don't write the music. They usually don't do the choreo. They usually don't film anything. They usually don't put their own money in. So I'm confused what that point even was about. I have a note here. I want to tie this in, that this isn't just unusual to the idol industry. I've seen this mentioned a lot. Like, other people have mentioned this too. Shigeru Miyamoto, he's like very famous. He's the creator of Mario, the creator of Zelda, big wig guy at Nintendo. He's still a salaried employee. He's not a multi-millionaire. He still works at Nintendo and gets a salary like everyone else. Like, sure, he's like real famous and real loved, but he's not like, he's not going to retire. I guess he can retire on his funds now, I guess. Like, he's well off, but he's not, he's not making money hand over fist, like as you think he would, as like the creator of these, literally probably the biggest, literally the biggest franchise in video games. Now that's kind of off topic, but I want to point out that that's just the way Japan is. And I found that so funny.
That's the business culture.
Yeah.
That's like employee culture.
Yeah, like I just don't understand like I just don't understand like how why he brought that up. It's like, yeah, they don't. It's like, and it's like that's just the way it is. Like I don't understand what the point there was. It's like, why
Again, it's a Westerner fucking making points at shock value so he can get the views. So
And speaking of that, this I think is the biggest shock value point ever. Is that at one point he actually says, and this is like pretty much it's paraphrased, but I'm not exaggerating what he said. Actually, I think this is exactly what he said. That because of their contracts, that some young idols were even forced to work as prostitutes. I forgot the other word to use, but basically he said that was the worst of them. That they would work as prostitutes, and I'm like, okay. Now, I'll say this before I say anything else, and like I think this is important to say. Any entertainment industry, be it in Japan, be it in the US, be it in Europe, be it anywhere, has its dark corners, its skeletons in the closet.
Like I said earlier,
yes.
If you insert with the K-pop industry, with the American music industry, with any industry, it's the exact same shit. But of course, we want to be a Westerner and give shock value so we can get the views. So we're just gonna say bullcrap so we can get views. About being wrong and everything.
I just can't believe that statement's almost slanderous. It's like, oh my god, it's like, okay, now once again, those kind of dark things always happen, like in the industry. Not to say they always happen often, but they always happen. It's terrible, it's horrible. We all wish it never did, or it never does, I should say, but it's there. Now, that said, do you really think, does anyone really think that Japan, there's probably some countries where this could be true, I don't know, but in a very, very modernized, westernized country, do you really think that there is a clause in the contract that says that they can make them into prostitutes? By the way, prostitution is like one of those weird kind of gray areas in Japan. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't think it's legal. So, it's the same way it's not legal here, but it's not legal. It's not legal most places, but it still happens. You know what I mean? Somebody should fact check that. I'm 99% sure that prostitution is not legal in Japan.
It's not legal here in the States, but I saw like an interesting TED Talk. Hi, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I saw a really interesting TED Talk about someone who, interviewed people who were in sex trafficking. And she said that yes, it's legal here, yes, it's illegal here, but it's still happening right in our neighborhoods. And the only reason why it's happening is because we're not being vigilant, and because there's still a market for it.
Yeah. And
the people who consume that market are the reasons why it's still going, and the reason why it's happening. You can't blame them. You need to blame the people that are consuming that market of prostitution.
Now, like, I have a feeling that this is his way of addressing some things like the Okada Yukiko thing, which for the record never had a proper explanation, but I think it's just his way of addressing some of that stuff. That's a whole nother can of worms, a much longer topic that I'm not going to go into here. If you want to know more about that, look it up. Or I'll have a link to there's another video somebody did, I forget who it is, another YouTuber did on the topic. I'll point that out to someone. But it's another dark scandal about like an idol who committed suicide. And one of the things that was thought to have happened was that, her manager was like, I guess you would still call it like, like rape or assault or whatnot, but like, more like coercion. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So things like that happen. It's fucked up like all hell. I'm not going to try to defend that, but that exists in all the entertainment. It exists in all the entertainment industry. Now, he also mentioned like stuff like hostesses and like prostitution, whatever. Maybe he means like some of these idols, and a lot of these idols do end up in like in hostess clubs. A lot of them do end up in like in adult video, like porn, but a lot of that isn't so much within their agency. It's like, oh, you're done, like for whatever reason. It might not even be you didn't sell.
It's funny because he makes a point later on where it's like, oh, well, after they leave, what are they gonna do? They don't have any skills. God. It's like, I hate that point because yeah, they become actors and actresses like he says, but you know, there's a lot of successful people, idols who have done shit like outside of being or after they leave, you know.
There are
But of course, white Westerner doesn't want to admit that.
As a matter of fact, like, don't get me wrong, I don't keep an eye on all idols. Like, I don't know every single idol what's happened to them all, but there are far more success stories. Not even success stories. There was just far more like normal stories. After an idol stops being an idol, that he seems to think there are. It's like, yeah, some of them just go back to normal life, but it's like, yeah, so it's like they might go back
that's
to.
Fine if they go back to normal life, but what's so wrong with that?
Yeah, like
oh my god, they wasted all this time and then they just go back to normal life. How scandalous!
But a lot of them do move on within the entertainment industry. Maybe they might not become singers because you know, like or like musical artists in their own right. But a lot of them go on to modeling. There's a whole thing. I talk about this all the time, like in our panels. The talent, you know, the talento, the talent. It's literally the word talent, but just katakana-ized. They're like the people who are just like the celebrities, like the Japanese equivalent of like the Kardashians or whatever. Like, that's a horrible example, but you know what I mean, as in like the people who technically aren't doing anything but they're still famous, you know, and they're kind of still around.
What they did in the past,
right? that kind of nonsense. So those kind of they'll be on TV. They'll have their own little show type things. A lot of them move on to variety shows or to like daytime talk shows or whatever. I don't know. I just find that last point that you mentioned so odd too. I don't know. There's just so much wrong here. Let's see. There's some other points. Oh,
there's still more.
Yeah, there's so much more. Now, I don't know if he'll ever watch this or not. I hopefully he does.
I hope he does.
It's going to be long, obviously.
Just letting you know. So
it's a lot. It's a lot here, but I don't know. Oh, just to just to point out, just to close out the earlier topic, I have some more notes there. Even if prostitution itself is not illegal in Japan, which I think it is, but even if it's not, forcing someone into anything, including prostitution, is. And I just find that so fucked up, slanderously amusing that he doesn't say like, oh, some have whatever. No, well, he does say some, but he doesn't fence in what he's saying. He doesn't kind of leave. He just straight up says that some are forced.
It's an irrelevant fact.
It's just like, oh my god, that's not a fact. Like show me.
Again, it's just more shock value information so it can get views.
I don't know. Anyway, so leaving that, he mentions the band boom, which is a thing, but I just found, I'm not going to go into what I was talking to Konaru about earlier, but it's a thing that I just found that was an odd point to mention. It's because at one point he talks about the idol periods, but then he just stops. He mentions the golden age, which is very funny because most people, when I mention the golden age, I don't know if there's any comments in his video. I haven't read through them all, but there's an author, Hiroshi Aoyagi, who wrote a book called Island of 8 Million Smiles. I love that book. I recommend it. It's probably pretty expensive, unfortunately, because it's a university press book, and I'm sure it's long out of print. But most of what we know as classifying idol periods is through him. He's the one who kind of and mind you, in English, I should say, because this kind of stuff existed in Japan. People study this stuff, believe it or not, as a thing, as a anthropological type study. But most of what we know as the periods come from him in English. He calls the period of the 80s the golden age and so on. Now, a lot of idol fans actually in the West call that the silver age for some reason. And I never know why. Fun fact, we have a series, I'll put
I think I know why. It's because
they call the show the other period the golden age, the pink ladies and the candies and whatever, the Momo Yamaguchi.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Martha, Konaru's partner in crime with Tokyo with Texas Idol Festival.
Yes, Tokyo Idol Festival.
Tokyo Idol Festival with Texas Idol Festival. So, her partner in crime has done several idol history videos with A to J Connections. I'll have a link to those below too. But even when we were discussing them, because we briefly talked about outlining what we're going to talk about, I don't think she ever actually thought otherwise, as far as I knew. But it was brought up, like, oh, do we call this a silver age or the golden age? I'm like, no. I always call it, you know, the golden age, and then the period before that. I call it the Showa era idols, even though technically most of the golden age.
That's how I know.
Yeah, even though technically part of the golden age was still Showa era. I used to call it like the proto idol period because, like, technically, not to jump back on that point, idols really start as we know them with Seiko Matsuda. 1979, 1980, I forget when her debut was exactly off the top of my head. That's when idols really started. That's where the idol story really picks up. Everything else before that was kind of, you know, it was there, but anyway. Sorry, somebody messaged me. That's so rude of me leaving my phone on. But anyway, so okay.
So, Manuel.
What?
So.
Oh.
Anything else?
Yeah, there's a lot more. So the band boom.
There's a lot more.
So the band boom. All I had to say was that was a very interesting point to bring up, but it doesn't go much into it. This is nitpicking. I always point out that the better thing to talk about is like the band boom really is like, what's the word? Personified by the visual K boom. And it's also unfair to talk about idols in this period by not talking about the band idol boom. So all y'all should watch our video on the Idol Ice Age, which, by the way, what this period is technically called. Should watch our video on that for a bit more history there. Now, this is the part where he starts getting weird in the 90s. He acts as if idols before were like these like squeaky clean girls up here who always like, you know, who were like unobtainable people who are always like above you. Because he talks about the 90s like, oh, there was a big shift. And now that they're basically like they're trading these girls who could be you, who could be like the girl next door, who have personalities that are, you know, or you. No, it's always been like that. There was nothing different. Onyanko Club literally pioneered the idol group, which he didn't mention at all. Like he shows a clip of like the Sailor Fuku thing, and he doesn't mention Onyanko Club. Oh, does he? Actually, I don't know if he did. He might have actually. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Might, like, for 3 seconds.
Yeah, he definitely didn't go too in depth with them, which is funny because he focuses most of the video on AKB48, but doesn't mention the Onyanko Club connection at all, which is so unusual. But like I was saying,
again, white Westerner.
Well, I don't know if he's white, for the record.
Oh well, the way he thinks makes me think so.
So, anyways, Westerner, ignorant Westerner, I think is a better way to put it. Ill-informed. I don't want to call him ignorant. Ill-informed. So the girl next door image was like super popularized by Seiko Matsuda, by countless other idols. I can't think off the top of my head. So it's just like I don't know what he's even talking about there. Malo Taku. Oh my god, I don't know. Anyway, at one point, let's jump into the bigger parts about AKB48 and Michan and all that nonsense. So he talks about AKB48 like as like being like the big, like, you know, the big idol group. He does mention Morning Musume. I feel like he should put more emphasis on there. But anyways, AKB48 was not the overnight success that he kind of like makes them out to be. They had many years of like middling. They were still popular, but like, you know, middling success before they really like blew up. Now it's also unfair that he kind of mentions them as if they're this idol thing. They are literally the biggest group in Japan, period. Like, almost all the records set by every other artist before them, group or solo, has been broken by them. It's ridiculous. And because they're so big in Japan, which, by the way, is the second biggest music market in the world, they are really big on the you know, the overseas stage as well, especially in Asia. Obviously, they're sister groups. Now, speaking of sister groups, there was a part where he numbered them, which, by the way, there's a very easy way to find out how many people are in the group. You could look it up right now. I didn't, unfortunately. I meant to before we started, but I didn't. But I don't know why he uses a figure for 2015, but there's easier ways to find current membership. I think it's like 115 now. It's actually lower. But anyway, but that number is really hard to count because some people, like depending on who you talk to, won't count certain people, like certain, groups or whatever. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But he talks about 2015. He talks about all these other groups, and at one point he shows like SDN, JK. I don't know if it's JKT, but he
I know that pissed me.
It was so funny because he showed.
Let me rant for a bit, because it's not that hard to go on Google and be like current AKB48 groups, and it will bring you a list. Where is SDM48 on there? Where the fuck is SNH40, even though they don't count anymore?
He actually does mention SNH and SDN. He mentions BNK, which weren't even around when he talked about that. But he doesn't... There's so many mistakes in that whole thing. I was just like, oh my god. I don't know why...
As an AKB fan, I am so offended that this is a roast now. I want to roast him so bad.
Not to jump ahead, but Ant in the chat mentions he doesn't mention Baby Metal. He actually does mention Baby Metal, but he
does. He mentions them as like the. No, you go.
No, you can go and say if you're gonna say it, because my problem was.
He mentions them as like the technically alt idol.
Yeah.
Like, not following the image, like.
I actually felt like the video ended abruptly after that. Like, that should have trailed on to way more, but it just stops. Like, why'd you stop? I love that he mentions Lady Baby, but once again, ill-informed Westerner, he shows the fucking Ladybeard Lady Baby, which literally existed for a tiny ass, like, sure, they're internet memes, but they existed for, like, the tiniest of windows within their greater history in general. They existed for like about a year. I think less than a year. They existed for like a year at most, more or less. And Lady Baby, obviously, it was a duo. Now they're a 4-person group. I think even the 4-person group has been around about the same time the Ladybeard era was there. So I'm like, what? Once again, just only cherry picking the most obvious examples. Don't bother doing any real research. But jumping back a little to the AKB48 thing. So, gosh, let me find exactly where we were here. Okay. Oh, the dating thing. Now, this is pretty controversial to say in general. I've said this in the past. Konaru, do you know what I'm going to say? My views on the no dating rules. I think you know what I'm going to say.
It's the same view as me, right?
I don't know.
That they date behind your backs.
Yes.
And everything. They still do it.
But,
yeah, no. I say that all the
time. Now, he mentions that, like, I think I should mention this earlier, but he mentions, like, oh, they keep her schedule so tight. They buy you everything in the backstage so you don't have to go anywhere. You're always followed. Now, I don't know what article he's quoting. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. But there is one article.
I looked into it.
Go ahead.
I looked into it. It came from, like, a really, like, kind of sketchy Japanese website. It looked official, but, like, the more I just looked into it, it was just like,
yeah. Oh. Literally, there's one article that talks about this, and every other person keeps repeating the exact words. Like, I'm sure he credited it. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm pretty sure it was in his sources. But he basically just read the article. He basically just read it word for word.
He had so little to no sources. Like,
he had like 3. Oh, 4? He had exactly. He had 4, like, something like that. I was like, oh my god! Like you literally spill information that spans all this. You say some pretty slanderous things, or like, well, not just slanderous. You also say some pretty outrageous claims.
Show me the receipts. Show me the sources. I'll believe you, and I'll take you seriously. I won't call you a Westerner anymore until you show me every single source for every single thing you said.
It's funny too, because I feel like you and I kind of have like the interesting dichotomy with the views here, because obviously, if you're watching this, like, RPG Monger, you have no idea who the hell I am. But Konaru is definitely a fan of, a fan. I'm a fan too, don't get me wrong. But I'm far more casual. I'm far more into the history and, like, the. You can
catch me with 2 glow sticks in each hand, yelling, yeah, type.
And you'll
that's the fan I am.
and you'll catch me like scouring the internet for like obscure idol videos from like the 80s idol that I heard I bought a single from on.
You can catch Manuel in the press section with a straight face.
Exactly. You can catch me in the back. Fucking Japan, like when you're pressed in Japan, you can't do anything. Now, I'm not the kind of hardcore fan who would go too crazy anyway, but it's so hard to be pressed like in a Japanese venue because you're basically you have to be stoic. You have to be like, yes, this is interesting, you know. Like even then, it's like, oh, he's making too much movement. Let's never invite him again. So it's like,
Yeah, so, y'all think that shit's not true either. Shit, I've seen people like get kicked out for like making too much of a scene, and they just breathe.
No, this is a big deviation. What the fuck? I don't care. Fun fact, like I've mentioned this in past podcasts before, and I mentioned this other places. I was actually told by the overseas liaison at this concert I went to, a big overseas one at Budokan. I was told by him, he's like, you can't cheer, you can't clap, you can't do this. He's like, basically no reaction at all. And I kind of chuckled awkwardly because it was a Skype call, by the way. I kind of chuckled awkwardly. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. He's like, no, I'm serious. You can't react at all. You can't show any emotion. I'm like, the fuck? I'm not a robot. But no, that's barely what they want.
And that's why you don't send me to press stuff.
Yes. It was actually hard. I mean, there was a point. It's like I could not like the music, but there's a part where I'm like, oh, I'm kind of digging this. If I move my head or like bounce my foot up and down, and this is like kind of getting a scowl. I'm like, oh shit, don't do anything. Like, don't even let the music like even get you as a beat. Don't do anything. Just fucking. It doesn't.
See, if you send me to groups that I don't know or I don't like, I'll probably be okay. But if it's like AKB or like Aqua or like Wake Up Girls, which I'm trying to go to Wake Up Girls Final Live in February. Really like trying my hardest too, but yeah, if it's like hype groups that I like, I'll be like, I can't do that. But if it's like casual groups like Color Point or like, you know, just like a basic group, I'll just be like, okay, that's fine. Like I saw Tsubaki Factory. Did I? Oh yeah, I didn't mention that. I saw Tsubaki Factory in Tokyo Dome. Yeah. Not inside Tokyo Dome, but like outside. We're in like the mall area, like the Tokyo Dome City Mall or whatever.
Well, like...
And, like, the stage that's outside.
Oh, they were performing?
Yeah, they were doing a promo live for their first album ticket. I went to do handshakes with them, actually. I have a ticket for a handshake event right here.
Oh my god. No, I think I've told you.
I got their album.
If you go to any big concert in Japan, I mean, I'm sure you saw the Tokyo Dome. A lot of times when the concert lets out, there'll be other idol groups, or specifically when they're idols. But I've seen it with VK groups too. There'll be other idol groups that kind of like sprinkled throughout the exits who are like handing you out their flyers or whatever for like their events.
I didn't see that.
Oh my god! No,
yeah, because I just rushed out of there because I was like, I'm tired. My feet are killing me. I'm hungry. I need a katsu in my belly. I'm gonna go back to my hotel, eat, and pass out. That was me.
Oh my god.
I was just focused on getting home and eating, so...
So anyhow, actually just jump back to what I was saying real fast, at least finish that point, is that everyone keeps quoting that. And he did too, almost word for word. But two things. One, I don't really know how legitimate the source is on that. But two, more importantly, that could be 100% true. But that's one person. That's probably one idol, one agency, and they're probably small. This probably isn't anyone big, who are like who are saying this. And I just.
To be honest, I can see that kind of shit going down like a small agency.
Yeah.
But definitely not in a big agency. Do you really think they're going to devote so much time?
Exactly.
To keeping that?
How the fuck would you?
Do you really think they're going to put so much money when they can be keeping that money for themselves?
Yeah, by his own admission, AKB48 has hundreds of members, and that would not maybe not hundreds, but over 100 members. All the 48 groups have hundreds together, and it's like, do you think that there's a person assigned to each of them to basically keep an eye and to follow them around everywhere? That's ridiculous.
That's a salary, you know.
So yeah, anyway, so that actually ties into my next thing. Case in point, if that was true, how the fuck did the next thing happen? The Minami Minagishi scandal, which by the way, this is a nitpick, but it bothered me, it triggered me because I was bothered that he brought it up anyway, but it triggered me that I don't know if it was just the way he said it. Maybe he knows how to say it and just misspoke. But he says Minageshi. He mispronounces her name to begin with.
That's a basic bitch Westerner mistake. So
I was just like that triggered me too. I'm like, dude, you're already messing up. But let's get her name right. And this is recorded. Do another take. It's like you probably watch it over later and you're like, her name is Minagishi. And I'm sure he has the script written. Did he write Minageshi? So anyway. Okay. So I don't think there's even much to say here because it's like I feel like we've had this argument a million times.
It is the most basic bitch Westerner like fact you can put in any Westerner perspective idol culture video. It is. If you put it honestly, I believe if any Westerner puts that in their video, it completely invalidates the whole video.
The problem. Go ahead.
And what do you call it? It like there's so much more out there than just this one thing. Oh my god, she shaved her head. Oh my god, it's the scandal of the century. Like, shut up. Shut up, please.
The problem is he's also ill-informed of the fact he shows the picture, the arguably just as famous picture in my opinion. Of her with Tomomi Itano and I forget who the other two girls are, and they're all like having fun.
It's Tomomi and Takamina. I think. Yeah.
And they're all like having fun backstage after the head shaving thing. A lot of people were mentioning that it was kind of that it probably was just like not a stunt per se. Well, again, it kind of was, but I don't understand. It's just like okay. See, I kind of dodged this earlier too, talking about the dating thing, because we mentioned how yes, it happens. Obviously, it happens, but I have another issue with it, and this is controversial. This is big time controversial. I remember people were like, I think even Tiffany was like, I guess you're right, but it's still don't say that. So this isn't. I'm not saying it's right that it should be like a thing in the contract, which I don't think it actually technically is. It's worded in a way that it could be. It doesn't say no dating. It says like no activities or whatever. But the problem is, we have a different culture here in the U.S., so that's unusual to us. But imagine, put yourself like just throw everything out of your brain for a second. Imagine you grew up in Japan. Yeah, imagine you grew up in Japan. You're a little girl, you're like 5 years old, and you see Onyanko Club, Morning Musume, whoever on TV, and you want to be them, and you grew up and that's your thing, and then you join AKB48. That's a whole different experience than somebody who did the same in the US. Now, I say this because even if you don't know it when you're 5, you know it at some point as you're growing up that the no dating thing, you see a scandal, I'm sure, at some point in your youthful fandom. At some point, culturally, this is the way things are. Wrong or not, I'm not saying it's right, but that's what this is. It looks
even then, like, they still date behind like their agency's back. It's all about keeping it secret. And
exactly.
Honestly, I will protect. If I see like let's say I see let's see Okada Nana, because she actually said like she's a lesbian and everything. She announced that she's gay. If I see her out there with a girl that she's on handsy with her and everything, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because I want her happiness and she's good. Okay.
No, I just
leave them alone.
I don't know.
Just let them live their lives. They're keeping it under wraps. Who fucking cares? Even then, Wotas do not care. Like, I don't know if anyone has noticed. Like, in the end, like Japanese society really doesn't care. They're just like, okay.
Like any fandom,
you're gonna have the one fan so you're like, oh, I'm never gonna support her again. But like the rest of the majority is like, we support you, we love you. Just get better. We love you. We'll still come back. We'll still be here. Like, that's me. Every time a scandal happens, like, no matter who it is. Even with Sashi, I was like, wow. I'm glad you mentioned Sashi.
Now, he doesn't mention her. And, like, I know there's probably omissions he had to make. But literally, I don't feel you can talk about scandals, and you can't talk about Minami Minagishi and not talk about Sashi Reno. Sorry, her name, like, I just said it and I forgot her name. You can't not talk about Sashi in the same breath because she's almost the flip of the coin. She had nobody, because the problem is she became like, she bounced back so quick, nobody really noticed, I feel, in the West, or she didn't shave her head. But her scandal was probably far worse. Like, whereas Minami Minegishi, we can assume that she was probably having sex with, by the way, that he doesn't mention this, but the person that she was over spending the night with was another male idol. Now, case in point, what I said earlier, he didn't get in trouble. Like, he still stayed in this group. It's a group called Generations, by the way. His name was Alan Shirohana. His name's Alan. Nobody really called him by his last name anyway. It's Alan. He's Alan from Generations from Exile. So that proves what I said earlier, way at the top of this segment, about that the rules don't apply across the board, so you can't mention male idols in the same breath here. But Sasha Hararino definitely was having sex with somebody, because there are pictures, censored ones, mind you.
Not just someone.
A fan. Now, part of me thinks that one of the reasons, like, she probably, her fandom, or not even probably, her fandom increased exponentially afterwards was because he even mentions it too, and let's be real here. To some fans, I don't know, to all fans, I don't know about you, Konaru, it's not my thing, but a lot of people, this is like, an attraction thing. It's maybe not so much like, it's there. So to know, it's always like, oh, maybe she'll fall in love with me, maybe me. To know that one of these girls did very much, in fact, hold a relationship with the fan is probably like, oh my god, I actually have a sliver more of a chance now, because there's a precedent set. But there are pictures of her like not to get too vulgar here, but there are pictures of her like doing sex acts and whatever that are out there. You could Google it, you could find them.
There's legit proof.
Yes.
Out there.
So there
versus Michan just like in a ball cap.
Leaving
on a sleazy paparazzi magazine.
Yeah, like so anyhow, but the reason I bring her up, in case you guys don't know who she is, in case like RPG Monger doesn't know who she is, she had a much worse scandal in Japan. This was very well known. It's just like, once again, she didn't shave her head, so CNN and BBC UK, or BBC UK, it's a fucking double whatever, BBC, whoever. So
Today Show.
Yeah, all of them didn't talk about it because it wasn't too sensational. Like, oh, it's just somebody, it's a sex scandal, but it's not like, oh my god, she shaved her head. But it was much worse. But not only did she recover, and she had a much similar punishment, by the way. She was also demoted and all that stuff. But
oh yeah, no, that's another thing too. He said that she left the group, and I'm like, bitch, no.
They both pretty much like have recovered, but Sashi recovered almost immediately. And not only did she recover, but she literally became, like, arguably, not even arguably, because votes are what really matter, she became the most popular member of the group, period, for several years. So yeah, it's like, I just find that so, like why bring up scandals and not bring up the flip side about somebody who had like one of the worst scandals, period, as in like there was actual evidence of like, the stuff they shouldn't be doing, quote unquote, and you just choose not to talk about that one, but choose to talk about the girl who shaved her head. I don't know. That was stupid.
I'm telling you, it's just shock value. It's just Western shock value for views.
Now, for the record, he mentions like the glimmer of hope. Now this is kind of a little. It's kind of also a little like, it's kind of weird to bring this up. Like, I guess you want to leave everything on a good end. He mentions the glimmer of hope, and he mentions that 2016 case where they tried to sue an idol, and we don't know who it was because the names aren't mentioned. The management company tried to sue an idol for the dating thing, and she won. And she won, and the judge was like, you can't deny them their happiness or whatever. But does everyone, is he blind? That was 2016. Does nobody realize that dating scandals have still gone on since? Usually they're far more crazier in the Chica idol scene. I mentioned the Zenkimi thing, how like all those members like, got kicked like almost at once because they were all spending too much time with their fans.
Yeah, they were like going on private outings or whatever.
And like,
and the original intention for that was actually just to increase their fan base and everything. But then management, of course, took it the wrong way, and I can see how they can be misinterpreted and everything. So management, like, bye, bitch.
So for the record, nothing has really changed, and I still find it so weird that like most of the Now, the girls will do it in secret anyway. It's like leave them to it. Leave them to it. But the image, be it a facade or not, is what makes idols idols. I find it so funny that when people like try to change all this stuff, it's like, no, just leave them be. I assure you that they're probably doing their own thing anyway. Just let the fans who are actually, mind you, I'm not one of them, but let the fans who actually care about that kind of thing, let them keep their facade, or whatever. But anyway.
Oh yeah, one more thing. He mentioned the was it the stalking with remember the AKB members that got stabbed?
Oh no, she wasn't AKB, but yeah, Mayo Tomita. He mentions her.
No, not the. No, not,
oh, he does. Oh, sorry. What's her name? Remember when I used to always talk about the
Kawaii Rina and Iriyama Anna.
Yeah. He gets the. I don't know where he got that reason from. Like maybe it wasn't one of the sources, but I've never heard that reason.
I still don't know how that's relevant.
Now, gosh, I don't get that either because he ties in. Now it's funny because like I'm like, did he watch our panel? We have an 18+ idol panel on YouTube, a couple of them actually, and we talk about those things too. Like both of them, that and the. I forgot about that with the handsaw. I don't know if he mentioned, but like this actually sadly never gets mentioned. But it wasn't just the two girls who were injured; it was also some staff.
Yeah.
So this guy was just crazy. But once again, like you said, that was a weird thing to bring up too. It's like if he was going to go in depth about why he brought that up, that's one thing. But it just seemed like.
Put in there for shock value.
Yeah, it seemed like he just wanted to mention more of the shocking stuff. Now, he does mention Mayo Tomita, who is the one that even Anne just said right there was stabbed 32 times. That he didn't get wrong. Like I'm not gonna misquote any of that stuff. That was all pretty much. Yeah. Now the funny thing about that is there's not much info on this story, and the reason there isn't much info on this is. I honestly, I'm not trying to be mean here. Don't take this the wrong way, anyone. I don't think anyone knew who she was until this happened. Now, the only reason I bring that up is because it's arguable whether she was still an idol because she was long retired from like her pop singing career. I don't think she ever really was. And I think I looked her up at some point, like around the time when she was still doing music, I think, but I think she was doing like some acoustic like pop stuff, so I don't know if she was really an idol anymore. Once again, yes, that's horrible. Yes, that's sensational. I understand why you probably want to bring it in there, but it's not really. And it's funny because I just told you that I bring it in our panels, but I even mentioned it there that it's more to talk about obsessive fans and stuff. Not so much. It's not really tied into anything idols. If he's gonna bring that up. Because it's so trivial. Like I bring it up in a 90-minute panel because I have all this time in the world. He brings it up in a 15-minute video. Like there's more important things you probably should have included if you're going to include that. If you're going to leave out other shit, leave out that and put in something else more important. That's my big problem with that.
It's more irrelevant information.
Yep.
Honestly.
So yeah, we already talked about that. About more idols have like careers outside of their idoldom that he gives them credit for. That once again, I feel like I don't want to say that's slanderous because I really it's slanderous, but that's kind of offensive to all the former idols who have either successful careers or have happy lives. Because some of them, yeah, they become housewives or whatever. But what's wrong with that? It's like,
yeah, what's wrong with that? I mean, in the end, they just want to live a normal life, or they still want to do entertainment. Like, what's so wrong with not being in the scene anymore after you graduate? Like. That it rubbed me the wrong way. As someone who is also like, leaving the scene. Well,
no.
Not technically, but
Oh,
I'm gonna be a happy housewife.
So, he tosses in Hatsune Miku at the very end. At the very end, but towards the end about his idol talk. And once again, I swear to God, that's not sensational. Well, it kind of is sensational because like she's a hot buzzword, but I swear to God, he only included her so that he could put probably a tag in like the YouTube tags to like, oh, I mentioned her, because once again, that's not really comparable to any of this. The virtual idol.
If he really wanted to like include like idols like Miku, but not technically, I say the Love Live franchise would have been better.
Like the 2.5D idol, yeah. So like that once again, that's almost an entirely different video that he just like kind of dropped in a bit of, and it's like, okay, you either shouldn't have mentioned that at all, or you should have just had to start the whole video again, because that's a whole different, it's like a whole different can of worms. It has different origins, it has different names, so I don't know why.
Just because they're the same visually does not mean they're the same at all.
Okay, so the last thing he mentions at all in the video is Perfect Blue. Now this is my problem with the entire video. And it's funny because I didn't actually look at the thumbnail until like the top of the segment. That is very telling that the Perfect Blue guy is like half of the fucking thumbnail. Now, Perfect Blue is an amazing movie. I'm not going to deny that. It really is. It's an amazing movie. I feel the book is way better. Read the book if you can. It's available from 7 Seas. They gave us a review copy of that. So I love it. Check it out. Mild plug? I don't think it is. They didn't pay us, but just mild plug. But I still loved it. Anyway.
Send it to me.
Yeah, Max loved it too. I was talking to Max about that too. Anyway. Max is Perfect Blue in general. I don't know why I brought up Max. That's a whole other story.
Max is Perfect Blue.
Yeah, Max is Perfect Blue. That's RPG Monger. If you want to follow somebody who like personifies like what's her name? Kirigoi Mima? Mima Kirigoi. Yeah, follow Melancholia on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook.
Follow Real Idol.
Yes, and if you love Perfect Blue, you'll love her. But anyway. So that's neither here nor there, but do follow her. But I love Perfect Blue. I think it's amazing. I also think it's a very good look at the idol culture. Like, we also do a 2D. I don't think you've ever been on this one, but we do a 2D idol panel. Yeah, we haven't done it in a year, I think. But I think a version exists on YouTube, but we've done it like 10 times. But
let's do it at Fanime.
We should. It's always popular there too. So we have a 2D idol one, and I like to not center the whole thing, but beyond the history and beyond the Love Live and the Idol Master and the so on stuff, I like to have this segment in the middle where we talk about Perfect Blue, because that does talk a lot about idols and about the dark side of idols, and so to speak. I agree, but that also is very sensationalized. It's basically the equivalent of the TV movie version of a real life event. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, the Britney movie? Like the Britney Spears movie?
Oh my god! Yeah!
That's how I compare it to, honestly. So that's my problem with that. It's like, it's almost... Okay, now, I don't... Once again, I'm not saying... That, unlike the stuff he said, I'm gonna preface everything I'm gonna say and fence it all in by saying that I'm not saying this is what happened, but in my opinion, after watching the entire video, and I watched like 3 or 4 times in preparation of this, I didn't watch it today, which is why some of this isn't as fresh. I watched it like yesterday, right before the podcast again, but I was really busy this morning. This reschedule happened last minute. But anyway, what was I getting at here? So I honestly feel that he went to the summer re-release theatrical thing. He went to go see Perfect Blue in the theaters. Loved it, saw how dark and shady idol culture is, came back home, and started work on this video. That's honestly Honestly, I'm pretty sure that's what happened, because, basic bitch Westerners,
Because, he closes it. He never mentioned Perfect Blue before. He never mentioned it before. But he closes it by showing it and telling everyone else they should go see it. And I want to say the first link in his... there's definitely a link in there somewhere to a Perfect Blue thing, right? I might be wrong.
I don't know. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'm not going back there again. I might be wrong, but he closes it with it, and I'm just like, what? It's like the ending is so weak. He talks about Baby Metal, but doesn't go into the alt idol thing. He talks about Hatsune Miku, but doesn't talk about 2D virtual idols. Once again, I agree, time, but don't mention them because they're like whole different cans of worms. You don't bring up giant explosive topics and just move on from them immediately. Then he brings the Perfect Blue. It's like, what? And it's just like, is that where you got all these notions from? Is that where you got this entire video idea from? Which I think that's the case, by the way. It's ridiculous. I don't know. With that,
are we done?
Yeah, I was about to
Are we done with
say,
this?
I'm actually really tired. That tired me out.
I still gotta talk about Aqua and
Yeah,
Tsubaki Factory.
there's still more stuff. Don't get me wrong, we're not done with the podcast, but I think we're done with this topic.
So I want to wrap it up. I want to wrap this topic up
Go ahead.
because I'm a roasted toaster. So, in the end, this video is just another Westerner looking into idol culture with Western views. Not saying that, you know, it's okay. I mean, not saying, like, it's wrong to be ignorant, but it's wrong to go and make a video like this, honestly.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, coming in for, because there's so many issues. Yes, I agree. There's so many issues with idol culture and everything, from, like, you know, shitty stalkers and shitty management and shitty this, shitty that. You know, like, we accept it. It's part of the thing. But just like with the other, like with American music. Oh, by the way, I want to bring up this point. So, he mentions the dating ban. Did you know that sometimes here in America there are fake, like, relationships just so they can get popular?
Oh,
Isn't that the same as, like,
Exactly.
a dating ban?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So, anyways, okay, back to my TED Talk. Yeah, honestly, this is just another Westerner. Probably, well, of course, looking in with a Western view, and he lost all credibility in anything, honestly. And yeah, thanks for coming to our TED Talk. See ya.
Yeah, and with that, like Konaru said, I felt that it was when I first saw the video, I'm like, no, maybe no one's gonna watch this, but it's been shared through idol groups, mostly positively, which is positive.
Which is scary.
I can't say that word, but you know what we're trying to say. Exactly. And it's funny because some of my, I don't want to judge them, but some of my more stereotypical Wota friends, you know the type I'm talking about, who live with the stereotype. Nothing wrong with that. I love them. They're awesome. And the idols love them too, I'm sure. So anyway, a lot of our stereotypical Wota friends who are pretty much, I don't want to say they're demonized, but they're kind of like, talked down to in this whole thing. Oh, you didn't mention Exile. So they're kind of talked down to here, and they were sharing it, and I'm just like, what? It's just like, I don't know. Like, did you watch the whole video? And what bothers me is I wonder how many fans are just fans, quote unquote. How many like people who don't know, like the same way I was. Like when I watched this video,
there was when it first came out, I saw like, wow, idol culture's so creepy. I'm glad I don't support that kind of industry. It's so creepy. Ew, gross. Japan's so creepy. Like, that's the thing too. Westerners needs to stop like with this wacky, creepy Japan agenda. It's honestly racist at this point. Like that's it's a really strong thing to say, I know. But this is my view of it. I really think of it as a racist thing at this point because Japan is not wacky, kooky, crazy all the fucking time. It's not. That's what Westerners perceive it as, and it's a very toxic mindset, and I think you should stop. And honestly, I want to say this video is really, really racist because he has that whole wacky, crazy, kooky Japan, like, kind of agenda mindset throughout this whole video just to make it look like, so he can get views because it's shock value. That's all he wants is a shock value video that talks about wacky, crazy Japan, so he can get a couple of views. And honestly, he's getting them, and the fact that it's getting positive reviews is really scary. It's disheartening that people actually agree with this, that you view Japan as a really just creepy country, and it's wrong. Honestly, on all levels. I think really bad. I honestly don't. I can't talk now. I'm so like mad. But yeah, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. You're racist if you think this is like.
And of course, I'll have a link to the video below too. Once again, I want to reiterate that this was very clearly a hot take on the issue. Like, I had notes. Konaru kind of didn't. I don't know if she had her own thoughts.
I didn't have notes. I already had.
Yeah,
I wrote some posts as I go.
To be fair, it looks like I looked at my notes a lot. I actually didn't. That's what every so often when I jump back, it's like I'm like, oh shit, let me look at my notes. Make sure I didn't leave anything out.
It's because hot things like this really make me like want to talk.
So for the record,
it's wrong.
I just want to put it out there, like, because if he does say this, there might be another rebuttal, or
I hope he does.
I don't know. Like, I'm unfamiliar with that kind of like YouTube stuff. I don't know if this even qualifies as it, but if that happens, just keep in mind, if you take things out of context, please at least, I don't want to say be nice, but at least point out the fact that this is a very hot, unrehearsed take. So anyway, that's that. Catch us on Saturday. I'm going to announce this again later. And we're not done with the podcast. But go ahead.
Manuel.
Yes.
If okay, this is actually a call out to him. Like, RPG, whatever the fuck your name is, like, okay, and Manuel edit, so it like zooms in right here. You see this? This is my handle. This is my handle on Twitter. Tweet at me. I will fight you.
I'll put you there. Because I have to edit this anyway, yeah.
At Milky Kitty Chew on Twitter. Fight me. I will school you. Thank you for coming to my side talk.
Tune in on Saturday if you want to hear Heidi's take on it, which I'm sure will be much lighter, but and it won't be as long. But I definitely want to talk to Heidi about some of this because she lives in Japan, and she's actually does idol activities in Japan.
Industry.
Yeah, she's in the industry. So also I want to point that out too as my final thing, in case you don't know who we are at all. We've worked in the industry, both obviously on the press side. I and some other members of us, some other ours have worked on the industry side, bringing guests over, working with management directly. We have members who actively have been and currently are actual active idols in Japan, so we know what we're talking about. I probably should have said at the very beginning. Oops, here it is. We know what we're talking about. This isn't coming out of our ass. This isn't poorly researched. That's that. Moving on.
If you want our like credentials, a2jconnections.com.
Yep. So moving on. Just move on. Tokyo Dome.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I'm going to talk about Tsubaki Factory first.
Go ahead.
So actually, I'm going to back up a little bit and talk about how I even got into Aqua Live and was able to go to Japan and everything. So a little bit, I want to say May, June-ish, I believe. They announced like their 4th live, and everything was so hyped because it's Tokyo Dome. A few weeks later, after that, they announced that they're gonna do like this foreigner pack where the staff of Love Live will provide a hotel, like 2 nights stay at a hotel, and tickets to go into the live. I applied for it. I applied with my boyfriend. We decided to do the double. You can sign up individually or with a group. We decided to do the group route. Honestly, I was really scared kind of going into it because it's a lottery. It was a lottery system, so it wasn't guaranteed that we would be in. And if you know how lottery systems work in Japan, they are very hard to win. Just in general, they're really hard to win. So my mindset, knowing how lottery systems work, I'm like, oh man, we're not gonna get this. But let's put all of our shit together. Let's do it. Let's still apply. If we don't get it, that's fine. Yeah. If not, if we do get it, that's fine too. We'll go. So I applied, and I found out the weekend of Anime Week in Atlanta, which is in September. So I found out in September that I was gonna go. We got accepted into the lottery. And yeah, we were on our way to Tokyo, basically. So yeah, that's how I got there. The whole system of the foreigner thing was really not complicated at all. They provided us with all of the information. All we had to do was book our flight and then get to our places on our own. That was the only thing we had to do, and honestly, that was easy for me. I had a friend that actually won a ticket that lives here in San Antonio, so we got to come back together at least, but we left during separate times, going over there. But he didn't know, what to do besides, needing to get, where he was and, with flights, so I helped him out with that. But, that was the minimalist thing you needed to, know, which was, how to book and do a flight and get to where you need to be. And then, yeah, that was why I went. Now I'm gonna fast forward to actually getting our tickets. So actually we arrived there at Tokyo Dome, and then we got our merch first because I was like, oh man, merch is gonna run out, and I didn't want merch to run. A light stick. I wanted a T-shirt. I needed my pin for my hat. I wanted a lot of crap. So
well, it should be mentioned also that Japan concerts are a little different in how they do merch. Usually merch opens before.
Yeah,
which is
no,
kind of a
merch,
weird
no,
concept.
this was on the day before.
Yeah, it's a weird concept. I
Yeah.
know, like that merch.
Honestly, I like that concept
Yeah,
better.
I wish that
Gonna
was
be
something.
real.
Yeah, I wish that's something that carried over here, because like most concerts in the U.S. or as far as I know, the West in general, because I've been to concerts like in Mexico and in Canada and so on. Most concerts I know, even one in Europe too. So most concerts I know, it's like you get let in, and it's two things. One, you can either rush to the merch booth, or two, if it's standing only, because a lot of concerts are if they're rock or whatever. Even Idol, a lot of concerts are. You have to like rush to the front if you want a decent seat or some shit like that. You know.
That was me during when Baby Metal came to Austin.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, am I gonna do merch first, or am I gonna
Yep.
get a good spot? I decided to go get a good spot.
Yeah.
And, like,
that's usually what happens with me too, and
honestly.
it's like I don't know. I don't mind it now, but yeah. Anyways, go
I
on.
still got my merch from Baby Metal, like all the merch I wanted from them. So
Oh.
like that was fine. I got a T-shirt. I didn't get merch myself, but like I got a T-shirt for my mom for like her birthday present because she couldn't go because she had work. So I was like, hey mom, happy birthday. But yeah. Okay. So we go get our merch first because, oh yeah, this was like the day before the live. So we go get our merch because I didn't want it to run out. I really wanted to get what I wanted. That was like a more priority per se than the ticket because I knew the ticket was, being handled by like the staff. We have to go to gate 25 of Tokyo Dome. If you know how Tokyo Dome is, it's just like a big circle and you just go around. And it's like right behind like the main entrance to Tokyo Dome. And it's like between Tokyo Dome and the mall. Like if you know how it's laid out. So we went to there, and there was English. They had English speaking staff. But they were really prepared, honestly, with signage in English and different languages. So they had English, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, and I thought I saw Spanish,
That's
which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they had a lot of translation ready and available on all platforms, and I was really impressed with that, honestly. And yeah, so we go and I show her like our information and everything. The lady that's standing like by the line and everything, she's like, okay, you can go in this line. They had lines set up for like our ticket. We had like a little ticket verification number, and they had it set up through like 1 through 200, 201 through 300, like that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
So we got in line. It was really well organized, very quick. I just showed her our ticket verification. They found our thing right away, and then it was a really easy process. I was really surprised, and they were all speaking Spanish. I can hear everyone like speaking different languages, and I was just really impressed with how this was run, especially having so many languages available at like any given moment. Like they were on top of it. I commend them. They sent me a survey about I want to say a week ago. Yeah, a week ago they sent me a survey like, oh, how was your experience and everything. I was like, bitch, let me tell you how much I loved it. I like boasted them so much. Like it was an honestly good experience. The only downside was the location of the hotel, but that was like I don't think they really took that into account because that's normal to them. So again, Western perspective looking in, sketchy for them, normal. I mean, I'm not gonna. I did mention it to them, like we kind of felt uncomfortable at times, but if you can look into it, that's cool. Anyways, so yeah, after we get our tickets, we were like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? Because we didn't have anything else planned for that day. So we decided to walk around a little bit, and then I heard a live happening at the mall across the bridge, and I was like, wait a minute. And then I heard like Wota's chanting, and I'm like, wait a minute. So I'm like, I told my boyfriend, sweetie, I'm being called to. I kind of have to.
I know.
And he's like, no. He's like, okay, I understand. Let's go. So he takes me. So I like rush over there to see what it was. I fucking ran to Tsubaki Factory live. Like it was a promo live for their album. Like I said, I have. I bought their album. At first, I didn't even know what the fuck was going on. It was just Tsubaki Factory, and I was like, oh my god, Tsubaki Factory! And I watched them live and everything from like, okay, so here's the stage, and then like it's leveled, and then they have like the course, like the people who actually like paid to be in there, like in the little section and everything, and then there was fans like And then there was like a little raised bridge where you can like still watch, but you didn't pay for it, but it's okay.
Yeah.
To still like watch. If we were up there on the bridge because I actually didn't know how to get down there. I was like just trying to get to wherever the fuck it was. And I was like, oh my god, it's Tsubaki Factory, no way! And I saw like their last song and everything, and it was good. And they were like, okay, we're gonna do handshakes now. And I was like, God, how do I get in there? so I go over to their merch booth because I was like, okay, if I'm being a smart auto fan, I'm pretty sure you have to buy something to get like a handshake ticket. So I was correct. You had to buy their album to get some handshake tickets. It was funny because the lady that was doing merch, she spoke perfect English. I was really surprised, and she's like, "Hi, how can I help you?" I'm like, "Oh." Oh, like it hit me like a train. Like I did not expect them to know English at all. I was like ready to stumble around in my Japanese, but no, they had an English staff, and I was like, it's nice. So yeah, I bought their album and 3 handshake tickets for $25. Yeah,
Each?
deal, right? No, like that was the total.
What the fuck? That is a deal. I
It
think,
was a smoking deal.
Oh my god, that's insane.
So I'm like, okay, and she tells me how to do it and everything. Like, you just go get in line, be sure you put your and this is a weird thing about handshake ticket or like promo handshake events like this. I don't know if you know this, but when you go and you have a bag with you, you have to put it in like a plastic bag. Like after staff searches it, they ask you to put it in a plastic bag and everything. Just, I guess it's like a way to show that like, oh, you're approved to like, bring it in. And then like once you go up there, you like the staff behind you, they they're like guiding you so you can like handshake all the members and you don't stall and whatever. They hold your bag like with the plastic bag and everything, and then they give it back to you. And then that was a weird. I don't know if like anyone knew that concept, but like that was new to me.
Oh, I didn't know. I don't think I've ever experienced that. That's crazy.
No, yeah, I didn't experience. I never heard of that either. So I was like, oh, well, that's interesting, but cool. And yeah, so I go out there, I do my first handshake ticket, and I'm like, they were really surprised that like there was a foreign female fan playing you. If this was like a foreign dude, that I'm pretty sure they would just be like, yeah, that they'd still be excited, but they were like, oh my god, you're so cute. What? They were like, wow, like they were really in shock when I just went up there and I was like, hi there, and telling them how much I love them and everything, And then I went back a second time. They were like, oh my god, when you came back.
Oh my god, you're one of those fans. Oh my god.
Yeah, they were like just genuinely surprised. They're like, oh my god, you came back. And like that second time around, I told them, hey, please come to America, please come to, in Japanese, of course. I told them, like, please come to America, please come to America. I told every single one of them. And they were like, okay, we will. And it was so genuine. And then like a Japanese fan came up to me afterwards, and he was like, oh, he tried talking to me in English, like it was really broken English. And he's like, oh, I'm so happy Tsubaki Factory is like, popular, like at least known in like outside of Japan. And I was like, oh, thank you. And he was like, please keep supporting them and everything. I was like, oh, I feel so loved and accepted. So yeah, that was my Tsubaki Factory experience. Really out of the blue, did not expect that, did not plan that at all. I was over the moon at that point, and I was so happy. I saw Tsubaki Factory. I shook their hands twice. I could have gone back with this one.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, what happened the third time? You didn't do it?
No, I wanted to keep it, so I didn't.
Oh, are you serious? Oh my god!
Yeah, I wanted to keep it as proof that I went.
No, it's funny. It's funny you say that. I don't know who it was. I want to say it's Tipu actually, but there's somebody like one of us who did the exact same thing. They bought an extra. I don't think it was 3 though. I think we only did 2, but they bought an extra ticket just so they could have the ticket. I'm like, you literally just bought a ticket. Like, yeah, it's a souvenir though.
It was a smoking deal though.
That is a crazy deal. I'm not gonna lie. That is insane.
It was a smoking deal, and honestly, I think they were supposed to give me 1, but I think the lady was really nice and just gave me extras because she saw I was a fan and like from overseas.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna be honest. That was probably the case. That's probably why it was a smoking deal. Everyone else probably got 1, and here I am getting 3 because I'm just a fucking foreigner.
So anyhow, so Aqua,
So yeah, okay, next day, Aqua. Again, really easy getting in. They had like English speaking staff like out there with signs being like, this is the entrance, or this is like the end of the line, everything. And I went up to one dude and I'm like, I told him in Japanese, like, and you know, and he's like, oh yeah, just go right here. And I'm like, okay. Again, really shocked because, like, again, they were just so prepared with the English and Korean and Chinese language stuff. Like, I was really surprised. So yeah, I get in there, really easy to find my seat. Staff again helped, English speaking staff again helped me get to my seat. Like, I didn't know exactly like how it was laid out and everything, and oh my god, our seats were the bomb. I can't tell you how amazing these seats were. Okay, so I'm gonna like map it out. So here, like, let's say here's the stage.
Yeah.
And then of course they had like a line, like the little catwalk, and then they had like another stage right here. Right here was like they had an orchestra, by the way, like a legit orchestra, and like it was conducted by like the main composer of the series, which is really fucking cool. And then like our seat was like right here, like right at the edge. So like.
Damn.
It was such good seats. It was really good seats. My boyfriend was kind of worried because, like, I showed him videos of, like, AKB48 in Tokyo Dome where there was, like, fans behind the screens and everything. And he's like, oh my god, I just noticed. Wait, what if we get those seats? I'm like, no, they won't do us dirty like this. Trust me, okay? They won't do us dirty. Apparently, there was a small group that did get placed behind there of foreign fans. But it was a really small group of people. So that was kind of disappointing for them, but here I am, just living my best life, front row, you know. And yeah, and then I had my friend that lives here in San Antonio, where we traveled back together. He got floor seats, and I'm like, whoa, how? I want your luck, but honestly, I really like your seats. So, like, I would not want to sit anywhere else in Tokyo Dome. But yeah, okay, so. Okay, so the concert starts. I would have showed you my picture, but I don't want to share pictures of inside the dome because we technically weren't supposed to take them. But see, I'm respectful. I don't share my pictures. So okay, so it starts off with them. I'm gonna talk about like the actual concert now. I'm just gonna like probably skip around. So they come out with their Kimi no Kokoro Kageyateru. I can't talk right now, but they come out with their first single outfits, and it was like, okay, cool. We saw Shuka, which is the Yoseiyu, do the jump, like the split jump over. I think it's Mari or Mari Akanan, something like that. Yeah, she does a split jump. Everyone went fucking nuts, like always. Then they did set 0 to 1, and then and then the next song after that they did a song that me and my boyfriend really love, and it was 29 Aquarium, bomb ass song. They didn't do the Light Stick Project, sadly.
Rip.
Sad. And they did 2 more songs. One of the songs included the first opening of the series. Oh, forgot to talk about the orchestra. Okay, so they actually started off the concert with an orchestra, like I said, which was very unique if you think about it, because like you don't see that many orchestras in like idol shows at all. If you do, maybe it's like an AKB one, or like I can see more of the Aqours like having one, but like in general, like a full out like conducted orchestra with the works and everything at their show, and they were doing the music live and everything, like the insert music and everything. They started off doing that, and then like during each like intermission where they were changing costumes, they would do like scenes from the anime synced up to like music, and oh, it was so good. I like orchestra, so I was like really, really biased to like seeing like that. It was like it spoke to me at least. Okay. So then after that, they came out in their Omo Iyo Hitatsu ni Narere costumes with pretty cute and fluffy, and then they did the first year, second year, third year songs. Those were bops. One of the group, or the third years, they did Jisano no Cinderella. They came out on the stage that we were close to, so we got a lot of interaction with them. Our whole section got waved at by like one of the Seiyu, Suwawa, which is the Kanan Seiyu. Yeah, we got her attention. That was pretty bomb. And then after that, this was my favorite part of the concert. I have to talk about this one at least. They did the song that coincides with the costume that they were wearing. But the thing is about this certain song, it has one of the seiyus playing the piano while the others perform. But the thing is, at their first live, when they performed this song, the seiyu messed up on the piano part. I don't know if you read about this or not, but like she messed up. Like she just started like freaking out on stage. You have to stop the whole performance and everything. And she taught. And then they decided to like be theatrical about this. So like she starts playing the piano, and everyone's thinking, "Oh man, she's back at it. She's doing good. She's doing so good." And like everyone, like the whole dome was so hyped seeing her perform on the piano again after like 3 tours. Okay, so she starts playing, and then she gets up, but the piano music is still playing. So we're like, what the fuck? What the shit's going on? Like the whole dome went nuts, and then eventually, like the whole group came together, and then they just started performing the whole song as 9 members instead of like the 8 as like, and it was like everyone went so nuts. Like I can't tell you how hyped and how surprised. I saw a lot of people crying, like, and I was crying too. So I was like, oh my fucking god, that did not just happen on us on day 1. Oh yeah, we went to day 1. So because like in my opinion, I think going to day 1 is better than going to day 2 because you at least get firsthand on what's coming, and then everyone on day 2 is just like, oh, we already know what's happening. What's the point of even living? Except for like,
what's the point of even living?
Except for like the special announcement towards the end, which I'll get into later. But yeah, they did that. That was like the best part of the concert. We'll never forget that. We'll never forget crying. Like I literally sat on my seat during their MC, and I was like just bawling so much because like it's just really emotional. If you're a Love Live fan, you understand. You're not, so. Okay, so after that, they did, like, Christmas songs, and the orchestra came back. Then they came out and did, like, a Season 2 song, more song. I'm gonna, like, skip around. Okay, so I'm actually gonna skip a little bit and go to when they came out in a really big boat. So, yeah, they came out in a boat, because, like, the whole theme of, like, the whole theme of the concert was, like, sailing, because it was called Sailing to the Sunshine, so they had, like, a big-ass boat come out. It was, like, all sparkly, all decked out with lights. Like I wish I found a picture of it because it was a really cool boat. And then they did the first season's like not ending song, but like the final song of like the season of the first season, which is Mirai Ticket. They were in their Mirai Ticket outfits. I was really hyped because I actually liked that song. And then they did another song after that I don't know that well. Then they did MC, and the Ruby Seiyu, which is also known as Furunine, she's like, hey, we have a special guest! And I'm like, wait, what? Oh, it's probably the mascot character from, like, the town or whatever, because, they do that all the time. No, it wasn't! Oh my god, this is another hype part. So in the anime, they have the rival group, which is called Saint Snow.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, these 2 girls, or one of them, is in Revenue Starlight, which is, like, that new musical anime thing, and they had a live the same exact day. She was supposed to be there, but she skipped the fucking concert to come perform at Tokyo Dome, and I'm like, girl, same. So yeah, the 2 seiyu from Saint Snow, the rival group of Aqua, they came out and they did like their collaborative song that they did together in the anime, and no one was expecting that song because that was like kind of like the main thing for their last tour that they did, their third tour. Like, bringing in the seiyu and like the rival seiyus and everything, and like, giving them the hype. And so we thought, oh, they're probably not gonna do it. And then they fucking did, and oh my god, my boyfriend and I, it was like our hype song, so we were like just jumping up, holding each other, like, oh my god, we were so hyped, and it was really, the only reason why I like that song is because, well, like that song during the concert was because I saw my boyfriend, and like that's one of his favorite songs.
Yeah.
And just like glowing and happy, and I was like, oh my god, I love him so much. Like I was so happy he was able to experience that song like live. But yeah, honestly, that was another hype song. And then they did 2 more songs. They did one of the songs was like the ending for the anime. Then they left on the boat, and then of course we did the encore. They came out in like the theme of the whole concert's like outfit, which is from like one of their singles called Thank You Friends, which is like their most recent one. And then they did the second opening, and then they did the final song of the whole anime, and then they did another NC, and then the ending song for the theme song for the whole tour. And yeah, that was Aqua. It was really hyped. It was probably one of the best like Seiyu Idol lives. Well, it's one of the best Seiyu Idol lives I've ever been to. Because I actually went to the LA live for them. I didn't like it at all. I was really disappointed. But honestly, going to Tokyo Dome after going to LA was really like sweet. Honestly, I couldn't ask for like something better. It was a really good concert. They're actually doing a delayed viewing of the concert here in Dallas, so I'm gonna go watch it again.
Oh my god!
That's how good it was. I'm willing to spend $60 for me and my boyfriend to go see Aqua again on a delayed viewing in a fucking theater. That's how good this concert was. But yeah, after that, we chilled. That was it. And yeah, that was my experience with Tsubaki Factory last minute, and then Aqua at Tokyo Dome. By the way, Tokyo Dome was like really beautiful. Like, I've never been so happy being inside like a concert hall. I love Tokyo Dome. And yeah, that's it. Well, that was my Japan trip. That was the whole reason why I went.
Oh my god.
That's it.
So that's that. Once again, I still wish I'd gone. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not an Aqua fan anyway. I'm not a big fan of big concerts in general. No, don't get me wrong, I would love to go to them. I just I don't know. I'm just weird when it comes to traveling. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just weird when it comes to like this makes me like a stuck up asshole. I said this before. I don't care.
Because you are one.
I don't like lines. I don't like.
Oh yeah, that was another thing too. Like at Tokyo Dome, there was a certain way like people like got out of the dome and like they left and everything. No one got up like in masses and just like left like typical Americans would. No, they would announce like by section, like section this and that can leave, and then section that and that can leave. Like, and then like it had to be completely empty in that section for the next section to be like emptied out and everything. I thought that was weird. Then again, I am a disgusting Westerner looking in with my Western views. So, but in the end, it was really organized, honestly.
It's funny.
And that dome is really pressurized, too. Like, I don't know. That was random, but yeah. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, like, I remember when I went to Budokan, like, I was kind of running late because of train nonsense. I had to go back and forth back to the hotel, like in Shinjuku, and then all the way back out there because I forgot something. So I made it there very, very close, and I was like running to the entrance. And I'd never been there before at the time. Like, I'd never been there at all. I actually went there one other time since, but at the time I didn't go. I hadn't been there, so I didn't really know where the entrance was. And like Tiffany was taking her time; she didn't have to rush. So I was like, God damn it! So I'm like rushing, and I see the guy I'm meeting. And he's like behind this security type thing, and there's like a rope. And it was so funny. He's like just waving me over. He didn't come to me. He's like waving me over from like way over there. And I just had to like run and just go under the security rope and just like act like. And the weirdest thing was security didn't stop me. And I was like, for all they know, I'm just like this crazy big foreigner, like just crashing into the place.
That's probably why they didn't stop you, because you're just a crazy big foreigner.
They just like let him be. Yeah, like security inside will stop him. It's not our job. Yeah, it was funny because like, and I kind of like, I purposely didn't get too close to them, but there was a lot of security, and like I literally like they had like it wasn't like caution tape, but it was like a rope, but it was clearly like a rope they set up, like the security, because they were in front of it, and I just lifted it up and went under it. But anyway, that's that. So we're gonna wrap up this podcast with one last mini segment to talk about the future of the podcast. Now, this kind of goes into, I'm going to kind of tie it into the upcoming stuff because some of it's upcoming. Now, Heidi can't be on the podcast during the week anymore because of, well, at least for the semester, because of because for those who don't know time zones, well, actually not even time zones, because like she's at school in the morning and then she's like doing stuff at night, like every day except for Sundays, which is when we get her. So she's gonna be on a Saturday night, this time, this place, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard, twitch.tv/JJPlays. So she'll be on. The reason I mentioned her specifically is because this is technically the last episode of season 1 of Ultra Podcast Z. Ultra Final Ultimate Miracle Podcast Z 18, to be more accurate. So, and that first episode was me, Heidi, and Konaru. It's funny because, like, when I first started the podcast, I'm not going to reminisce that much, but when I first started the podcast, it was it was a no joke. I envisioned it as the me and Heidi Tiffany podcast with occasional guest. And it's just so funny how everything panned out. Heidi was never on. Like, she was on that first episode and like one other later on, but she wouldn't come back for like forever. And then Tiffany was on for a long time, and then she stopped too. So they became the Manuel Konaru podcast with special guests. But I wanted to reunite that first thing because like the whole podcast thing, like nobody really wanted to do it except for Heidi. So Heidi and I were like, it's weird to think about that now because she's like almost like the least involved these days because she has her own things, not because she hates us, but or hates me.
It's because she hates us.
Yeah,
well, hates you.
But like a lot of what exists now is like stuff that she thought like mind you, I think I thought up the name. I think I did. But it was through brainstorming that her and I had, and the logo design she kind of thought up too. And she definitely picked out the one, because there was actually like 4 different versions. She picked out this one. So it's just so funny, and it's like she's like not that involved. And I never really talk about that much because I guess why would you? But so I felt it was weird that she wouldn't be on the last episode before we changed everything. And so she is, but unfortunately it's gonna be split. So Konaru now, Heidi later. And I think Tipu's
I mean, I can still be on Saturday.
I don't, unless I bring the special one, because I think I'm doing it at Tipu's house, funny enough, because we have to work on some stuff with Heidi outside of the podcast. Secret stuff. I'll tell you later, but secret stuff. So Tipu might actually be on that one. We haven't actually discussed that, but I'm like, you might as well if I'm at your house. But, so yeah, I'm doing it from his house.
Be in the same camera. Be like,
I know. I was thinking that too. I was like, but that would be like, I guess I could pull out the 4-person one because we only use that once. Mind you, I have the files. I could just take out the logo and put in the new one, so that's not an issue. I could use that one again. But I'm just like, I guess I was thinking that too. Like, do we share a camera? We get 2 separate cameras. We have to be careful not to spill into each other's mics. But anyway, I'm going too far into the history. I didn't mean to go that far into it. So next week on Tuesday, not to confuse you guys, because there's Saturday we haven't one more episode, but next week on Tuesday, Sylvia's going to be on the podcast, and we're starting season 2. Now you might be wondering what does it matter? Well, first of all, we're changing the logo, as you can see, and once again to point out, credit where credit is due, Konaru made the logo. It's funny because I think you mentioned how you kind of just threw it together as like really fast. It's like, I don't want to say a joke.
Yeah, no, I was in class. I was in math class actually. I was really bored, and I was like, "Oh, okay." He asked me to do it. Better do it now, I guess. So here I am, just fumbling with different fonts, different things, and that pooped out on my butt.
That's a very lovely way to put it. I love that it's that it looks very Gundam-y. That was like the first. It
was funny because like that same day too, my parents are like, "Hey, if you go to the Gundam cafe or the Gundam statue or something like that, can you take pictures and get us merch?" I'm like, "Okay, Mom. Okay, Dad. I'll do that."
And I like that because that's the biggest change. Like, sure, the logo is changing, and by the way, the name is slightly changing. Technically, it's the same name, but we're just shortening it a lot. Ultra Miracle Podcast Z. We'll still call it Ultra Podcast Z. But yeah, the long name was funny. It was meant to, because mind you, like Heidi and I thought it was funny and stupid, but also at the same time, when we made ours, we had a gaming podcast too, which is called the True Ultra 4K Complainathon, blah blah blah, and Knuckles. It was longer than that, but it was as long as. So yeah, and then, yes, it ended with and Knuckles. They did that.
That and Knuckles.
And Knuckles, yeah. So So like,
shit.
yeah, so that was kind of our reasoning too. It's like, oh, this is our naming convention. It only lasted those 2 podcasts. Like we didn't do everything like that. Like let's give it stupid ass names. So yeah, but like I said, the name shortening, the logo's changing. But more importantly, the content is changing. Mind you, we've done some non-idol episodes here, but most of those have been recent. Most of those has been since Sylvia, which is funny because like you would think of all the episodes, like that really horrible episode in terms of like technically, really changed everything. That was the last time I ever wrote like basically the script, because it was more of a script back then. Remember when it was like 10 plus pages of like.
I like it when we're free like that, though, because I feel like we're not so restricted and we can still talk about idols and everything.
So,
like, sure, we can just have like a skeleton every week of like big news that we can discuss, and then we can like stay off topic of it. That felt so good. Yeah, so that's a new concept of what we're gonna do. We're gonna open it up to more differing concepts. Let us know if you ever want us to cover something specifically. But here are some of the ones we're definitely doing. We need to talk about J-horror, talk about video games, visual K, toys, food, and stuff like that. More conventions. Now those sound very generic, and yes, the first one of all that series will be generic. Like the J-horror was to be just J-horror, but maybe in the future we'll do one on just Tomiya. You know, the food one might be just all food, but maybe later on we'll do one on candy, or etc. So yeah, it sounds generic, but we're gonna be. The point is, it's not gonna be just idols. I think it'll always be kind of a slight fallback forever, just because of the way A to J is. We'll always kind of like always be idol-y centric. We're always gonna be idol centric, but we like to have fun and spice things up. So that also means we're gonna get a crap ton of new guests coming in, because it opens up. Because one of the reasons I have people like interested to be on, but it's like, oh, they don't know idols. But so yeah, so these are episodes that are happening, that will happen soon. That's very soon, next Tuesday. Also, our format will be a little different. It'll still be a work in progress, but I think it's going to be something in between. It's not going to be the total free form that we had with like Tiffany last week, or with some of the more extreme Halloween episodes. It won't be that crazy free form, but it definitely won't be like 10-page script either. So it'll be something. It'll probably be like what we did tonight, because we had like 2 pages of notes with like a few key topics. Mind you, we probably won't do one topic for an hour. We'll probably free form it a little bit differently, but yeah, so we're gonna do that. And I actually want to start doing a visual representation. Like if we have like 3 or 4 key topics, I'll put them up there and I'll highlight each one separately. And I don't know if I could. Maybe I'll have Heidi do a pointing thing up, down. Like I don't know where that picture was at. I assume it was at her school. That's probably what that is. Like Heidi, just go take more chalkboard pictures. But anyway, but yeah. So anyhow, that's just what that is. Everything else should be the same time and date. So I already mentioned. Oh, shout out by the way, if you like what we do, please support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/A to J Connections. I'm still gonna update that very soon. I've been very busy. The holidays have been insane, and I don't want to spill too much tea. No, tea's not the right word. It's like, not spilling drama. I don't want to spill a lot of tea. Yeah, we don't want to spill more. We spill a lot of tea, but I don't want to spill any secrets. But there's some really big things that are working on. It's been taking up so much of my time too. Not just the Heidi one. That's something else. Like that's not even related to A to J technically. But yeah. Anyway, ALA stuff's progressing. Lots of podcast stuff. Follow us on Twitter, all of our social media. We'll have all the updates there. Shout out to Ed and Kenneth, our current patrons. I already mentioned the next podcast episodes. In case you're wondering, the Sylvia one next week technically doesn't have a topic, but it's the first episode of the season, so we're gonna just like wing it. I want to talk about like something. Like maybe like talk more Zelda stuff, because we were talking about Breath of the Wild, like just her and I. So we'll talk about like shit like that. We'll see. I do want to talk about Christmas and coming up. You know? It's supposed to, like I pitched it to her that way too, because her birthday was recently. It was last week. It was on Tuesday. Birthday stream. Let her pick whatever we want to talk about. So yeah, so we'll do that. But anyway, that's that. I think is that everything I had to say? Season 2. I don't know. I don't keep track of you, so yeah, I'm not a manual handler. Just let us know if anything you want to hear us talk about in the future. We're open to suggestions. If you want to be on the podcast, that sounds really weird. It sounds like we're just accepting anyone, but to a degree, we kind of do. That's kind of how we get half our hosts.
or just people that if you think you could contribute somehow, drop us a line. We're pretty chill people. Like, I'm not gonna be like, no, who are you? We'll at least listen.
I'll probably be like that, but I'm just a judgmental host.
So message me. I probably should have said this then. If RPG Monger wants to be on, he could be on too, and we'll all hash this out.
I probably can't be in that one because I just roasted.
I was about to say, like, I think he roasted him too much. It'll be me, him, and Heidi. Maybe if we do that, I'll actually try to because I'm already editing it. I'll edit this there. For those of you who might see the edit about why I pulled my little face mask down, I can only keep it on for so long. It's really hot in that, and it's just disgusting. So I can't breathe after like 2 hours, and this went on way over time. So that's fine. So yeah, that's that. I think the days of recorded podcasts are kind of over. Also, go to Twitch. I have the schedule for our podcast episodes. We might take 2 weeks off for the end of the year because the holidays, but I kind of want to do one episode maybe like on whatever that Saturday is with Heidi, if she's available, and or with whoever, so we could talk about just the end of the year, like the year for A to J Connections. Huh?
Reflect back on
yeah, exactly.
The year.
So yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Also, I propose that we do a live podcast at ALA.
Oh yeah.
If y'all want to see that, like, tell Manuel, leave a comment, because I honestly think that's a bomb idea. Have like a whole crowd and everything with us. Like, this was recorded in front of a live audience. We'd actually put that in there, guys. Yeah. Oh my god, I want to be that cool. Like, make my dream happen. Thanks. It's your Kobe Talk.
All right, so that's that. Shout out to everyone who watched our episode tonight. Like, comment, subscribe.
5 people.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, thank you so much, because like people following this part were so confused because I Twitter stormed before yesterday's podcast, then I canceled it, and then I said it was canceled and nothing was said for a while. Then you posted like a few hours later that it was rescheduled, and then
it was 30 minutes later.
Or no, well, whatever. A little bit later, and then we were kind of radio silent on it until like hours before. So I'm surprised anyone watched. So anyway, yeah, that's it. Good night. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Aunt. But good night.
Westerners are horrible.
Oh, I should have stopped recording a second ago. Okay.